Hello again, everybody, and welcome to another exciting and cheerful edition of the Jim Cornette Experience right here today on the program. Humphrey Bogart, Lamar Odom, Jonathan the Turtle, and a lot of other people and things that don't involve wrestling, and unfortunately, a few that do. And joining me for all this and more in scintillating conversation, Hawaiian Brian, the podcasting lion, the king of the Arcadian Vanguard Podcast Network, Mr. Co-host to you, the Peter Lorre to my Sydney Greenstreet, the great Brian Last, everybody.
Aloha, Jim. A pleasure to be here again for a happy and fun edition of The Experience. And this is your show.
Well, I'm glad you were able to testify in such lengthy detail about how happy and cheerful you are. It's apple blossom time, Brian. I'll be with you in apple blossom time.
My ears.
I'm telling you, the dogwoods are in bloom. The red buds are just out purple and just bright. About a month ahead of schedule. It's the weirdest spring already. Record high temperatures here in Louisville, Kentucky. It's 20 degrees warmer every day than it's supposed to be. We went from record cold in February to record heat in March, and now the plants and the animals and the mammals and the mammaries, none of them know what to do. They're just sprouting out all over there. You've seen the mammaries sprouting out all over the place.
No.
Well, you need to keep a better eye out for them. But anyway, and again, the pollen, Brian. It's terrible. My eyes are shaking and my knees are weak. My knees are neak. I'm suffering the effects of an early spring on my poor head and my squishy ear. Going back to the doctor, telling him these goddamn antihistamines that he gave me ain't done shit. Made my mouth a little dry. Didn't clear my ear up. What's that you said? Can't hear you. All right, we're going to talk about some things today. Are you cheerful?
I hope so.
Do you have a pulse over there?
I'm feeling good. Are you?
Oh, Jesus.
See, jolly and happy. I'm waiting for you to bring it. It's your show. You got to bring it.
Bring it. I want to keep it. I'm staying home with it.
You got to share it.
I just recognizing a couple of the people, the cult of Cornette out there. I got an email from Jesse from Boston, who lost Monroe, or as his full name was, Monrovius de la Schmoop. But it was his 12-year-old puppy dog, and he's been listening to the show to keep himself distracted from that. But he was a Clumber Spaniel, and he sent a picture of a cute little baby. But anyway, he says that he likes our reviews much better than the actual wrestling, because at least that's entertaining. So it's keeping his mind off of it. But our sympathies for Schmoop. And also, I got an email from Alex from Manchester over in the United Kingdom, who said a lot of nice things about me. And actually, you too, Brian, kind of, by extent. And I'm not going to read what he said, because then it would just be self-serving and lacking in humility of me. But I wanted to tell him that I thanked him for saying thank you to me for saying things that he heard me say. Thank you, Alex.
Now that that's clear.
Now that that's cleared up. All right. Brian, I know you're just dying to jump in on this one. This is an email to both of us. And this actually goes into some detail on something that we spoke about here on the program just recently. And remember when we talked about poor Grado getting paid by a drawing of a check on a piece of paper by TNA Wrestling, and they sent it to him over in Scotland, and he took it to the bank because he thought it was some weird American thing. And we did read the other day on your program, I think, possibly, I can't remember, an email from Grado, who's doing well and stars in everything that is ever staged in the United Kingdom. But this is from Callum, who is a both a Scotsman and a bank branch employee. So therefore, he can officially testify in two different areas of expertise, Brian, as to what the fuck goes on over there with the checks and shit, correct?
I presume. Possibly.
So,
maybe.
Possibly, maybe. Well, we'll see if he sounds like a person to be trifled with. Jim was not ignorant, first of all, to assume that Grado was British when he's Scottish, because he is technically both. Scotland is a constituent country within both the United Kingdom and Great Britain. It is a common misconception around the world that Scotland and Britain are separate. But just for clarification, Great Britain is an island made up of England, Scotland, and Wales. And the United Kingdom contains England, Scotland, Wales, and also includes Northern Ireland. Therefore, Grado is both Scottish and British. So that son of a bitch is double dipping, Brian.
Well, I don't think that's what you would call that. It's not double. What's he double dipping exactly?
Well, he's got two different goddamn like home countries. He can do welcome home Grado shows in two different fucking whole countries. And do you think he gets like two different Social Security checks or two different? He's got the benefits of citizenship of two different fine, upstanding, well-established countries. That ought to be illegal.
Well, I don't know how upstanding, but yeah, I mean, I guess there's something. There's something in what you said. I don't know what exactly.
They stand up a lot better than we do these days over there. And secondly, and possibly more importantly, a couple more points to note around the Grado check incident. As a bank cashier, I can confirm that in the United Kingdom, it is very rare for anyone to be paid by check. The vast majority of the time, payments are automatically transferred into the employee's bank account. And on the occasions where they are not, it is usually because the employee is working some kind of manual job which pays cash in hand. Checks are quite simply an inefficient method of salary payment over here. Checks do exist in the UK, but they are more often issued in instances such as refunds from companies or as gifts between family members. And he said international checks, which I assume Grado received from TNA, are a nightmare to process in our banks because UK checks are different to American ones, and our banking systems are not designed to process them. So, okay, this explains part of what that I was talking about a week or two ago, Brian, when we got comments on the incident to begin with. But there's people commenting, we haven't seen a check in 30 years, which insinuates to me, that's not the proper usage of that word, but it does that they don't write checks either. I can understand, okay, if you work for a business or a company, you're an employee, they just direct deposit your check. That's a thing that people do these days. I don't like it, but I know it's done. But how do you pay the fucking electric bill? You're still writing a fucking check or your goddamn credit card bill. Do you pay your credit card bill? Put it on my credit card. How the fuck?
I mean, most people just do direct debit. You know, it's pretty simple.
But that's ridiculous. Then you've just given control of all your finances over to some fucking nameless bot. And a lot of these bots ain't worth the paper they're printed on.
Well, again, the good thing is in America, you do have the option of writing a check, sending a check. What do you think about hearing that it's not like this was recently phased out, but from all the feedback, and we got a lot of feedback, more than I thought we would about this. It seems that these were phased out. Checks, these. Pronouns, pal. Checks were phased out like 35 years ago or so. What do you think of that?
I guess, you know, if they gave me a alternative of, well, here you go. Here's your bill. Fine. Here's a check. Oh, we can't take that. Well, then you can't get paid. I don't know how I would have existed in such an environment. Just willy-nilly going around telling people your fucking bank account information all over the place.
Would things have been any different? like let's say in 1984, the end of the territory days, if instead of, like in Mid-South, instead of the check system they had, if it was, we will deposit it right into your bank account every 2 weeks, how would that change things?
Well, for one thing, you would have still had to have given the guy the piece of paper, assuming that everything else in 1984 is the same. We still don't have the internet, right, etc. We're just direct depositing the checks, or what's your fantasy?
I think in that fantasy, it's just that. It's somehow a direct deposit right into your bank account, an electronic check, pre-electronic checks. I don't know how you would say it.
Okay. So basically, you'd still have to hand the guy a piece of paper at interviews or at TV later that day, every fucking 2 weeks on a Wednesday, telling that guy what he made for each town and what has been deposited into his account. And then he would have to go home and immediately check to make sure that you weren't just bullshitting him and that the money really was there before he decided whether he's come back to work the next day. That would be one thing, because that's what in Mid-South, for example, I've said, the guys, the main talent that was at interviews on Wednesdays, every Wednesday, that's where you'd get your check, and they paid every 2 weeks. And that would have the breakdown of the towns that you worked in the check pair. Well, I'm sorry. Let me try this again. You got a check every week, but it was for 2 weeks before that, because Watts held back the week. You see what I'm saying? Because he wanted to make sure if you left the territory, you knew you were leaving a week's pay behind. So point being, we got a check every week at TV, and it was for 2 weeks previous, and it contained all that information. And the guys immediately ran, I've told this story, to the bank to cash the fucking check and get the cash. And then later on, maybe or maybe not, they would deposit it in a bank account if they had one. Because some of the guys didn't have a goddamn checking account. Maybe most people, sometimes their wife, or it may have been in their fucking girlfriend's name, if they had an apartment and they had, the girlfriend signed a lease, whatever the fuck. It was not just like it is today with the young, generation. Literally, some of the guys had to go to the bank and that in Shreveport that the Mid-South account was at, that they knew the guys were coming every Wednesday afternoon. They could cash those checks without having a bank account of their own. But no, there would have been a mass fucking riot / exodus because some guys, again, didn't have a bank account. Some guys wouldn't have trusted it. You were on the road to the boat. There was no way that you could just get online and find out whether money was in your bank account or not. You'd have to wait till 2 or 3 days later, maybe when you were back home in Alexandria or Baton Rouge, go to the bank and ask them how much money you had. You see where I'm going with this?
Yeah, and it's crazy that Grado would teach us something about America that we didn't know. Think of how many instances in the past where a promoter didn't have their checkbook on them conveniently. Imagine if you had the knowledge, okay, draw me a check right now. What do you mean? Just draw me a check. I will take it to the bank and take my chances. Just draw it. It would have worked. No one knew that.
I saw kind of the opposite that time with Gordon
Scazzari. I knew it.
He had a pack of checks with no register, just in his hand, a pack of checks. And as the guys were standing there, he was just writing them checks for what they told him they believed that they were owed for either what they'd already done or for extra work they were going to do or for inconvenience or whatever the fuck. And he was just writing checks and handing them to people, not even writing down how much it was. And anyhow, so that clears that up. But Brian, let me ask you this. You may know where I'm going with this because I recorded something that had been broadcast on television a week or two ago, whenever, but I just got the chance to watch it. If I was to say to you that Humphrey Bogart starred in a wrestling movie, would you be able to call the name of the movie right off the top of the bat?
I would not know.
I got you with one. I've been trying to fucking see this movie again. I saw this thing 40 years ago on TV, I know not where, somewhere around the country, right? And I've never seen it again. And it was on Turner Classic Movies here recently. Swing Your Lady. Does that ring any bells?
It does not.
Okay, Humphrey Bogart plays a wrestling manager in 1937. This is the year the movie was released. And he's barnstorming across the country in a car with his wrestler that he manages, trying to drum up big matches for him, as they actually did back in those days in some cases, right? And the wrestler is played by Nat Pendleton, who I know you will recognize.
Yeah, I know that name.
Nat Pendleton was actually an Olympic wrestler for the United States in the 20s, same decade as Johnny Weissmuller was a swimmer. And then it turned pro and was a professional wrestler, of some note during that time period, the 30s, but would go on to be, I guess he was the first wrestler that went Hollywood, right? Because he started getting parts in movies and ended up transitioning to acting full time. He was in Abbott and Costello movies. He was even into 50s television. He was the tall, fucking grumpy police sergeant or the drill instructor or whatever the fuck. But Nat Pendleton's the wrestler, and they get stuck in the Ozarks, back in the backwoods, and they can't find any opponent for Nat Pendleton to wrestle, and they come up on the idea of pitting him in a match against the lady blacksmith in town, who's this big strapping woman. And they figured maybe we can get some interest in this. And they're trying to sell this match when the lady blacksmith's boyfriend shows up, and he wants to take the fucking match, and it's Whiskers Savage. And although he's billed in the credits as Daniel Boone Savage, which is the gimmick that he was doing in the 30s, but he was then I think maybe just a year or two away from the start of a big run in Houston wrestling as Whiskers Savage. He was a hillbilly with the pig and the blah, blah, blah. And he's a real legitimate, it would be the same thing at that point as like, give me a star from today. So many names running through my mind. If suddenly fucking, well, all the guys are in movies, but if suddenly one of the top guys of today ends up in a movie, it was early in the wrestling business for that to happen back then. So point being, you get a chance to see in a couple of the scenes, because this was a lighthearted movie, what was probably a bunch of spot show spots they were doing in the 30s. And two legitimate top guys working even a Hollywood match, but the fucking style of what wrestling was then, at least from a lighthearted standpoint, like I said, the spot show spots. But it's kind of fascinating because we've seen the wrestling scene in Night in the City with Zbyszko and Mazurki, where they were both from the 30s and Zbyszko before that, and working the old stiff, snug, we want these people to believe kind of shit because it was a dramatic movie. And now you get to see these two guys doing the 30s gaga that they were probably doing in the fucking Hattiesburg, Mississippi National Guard Armory. So it's fun. But that movie is almost never seen, which is why probably you've never seen it.
I've never seen it. I looked it up on Wikipedia. I'm going to see about getting a copy of it. Humphrey Bogart was apparently becoming very disenchanted with the film roles that Warner Brothers was offering him at this stage of his career. The following year, he appeared in his only horror sci-fi film, The Return of Dr. X.
Dr. X.
And these were the two roles he never liked talking about when he became a major film star several years later. He considered his performance in Swing Your Lady the worst of his career. And Swing Your Lady is listed in the 1978 book, The 50 Worst Films of All Time. Wow. I got to see this just because of, the whole thing interests me, and I love films from that era, but footage of Whisker Savage, I got to see that.
Yeah, and I mean, you can see why he got over, because he just got that the face, the look. It's a classic. He could be the hillbilly, the caveman, the fucking, gimmick. And I think he might have made a few more movies also after that. So I don't think most of those people were watching just for the wrestling scenes. I think they were actually expecting acting and plot and shit.
What's the name of the producer? Samuel Bischoff.
Oh, no.
That's right.
Is that the first case of a member of the Bischoff family managing a bomb in the wrestling business?
That's the first time a Bischoff was involved in a wrestling film that made the list of the worst films of all time.
Well, anyway, folks, Swing Your Lady with Humphrey Bogart and Nat Pendleton and Whisker Savage. And did you know, Brian, that right now as we speak, and I found out completely by accident about this, but as we are sitting here, right now, a member of the cult of Cornette that we speak of on occasion is starring in a goddamn big-time Netflix television program. Have you heard about this?
You talking about the new John Fell in Baltimore documentary?
No. That's being released by the German Goo Girls set up.
The Goo Girl, really? I didn't know about this.
Yes, they're adopting an offshoot where they're doing home family reality. But nevertheless, no, I'm serious. A big Cult of Cornette member is in a big time TV show on Netflix right now, and we haven't even called anybody's attention to it. Didn't even know it.
I have no idea what you're talking about. No.
There is a program right now on Netflix called Untold, The Death and Life of Lamar Odom. Have you seen this program advertised?
I have seen it advertised. I have not watched it.
And one of the star of the show, I mean, he steals the show, was the appearance of our friend Richard Hunter, who has been a member of the Cult of Cornette, who we've talked about a letter. I just mentioned him here a few months ago, a letter from him, who's sent a couple of really nice gifts. He and his lovely better half listen to the program. We've exchanged letters back and forth and various packages and things over the past couple of years. And he had said, and I had read from the thing that he had said, this was last year or before, that he was the guy that administered the first aid, CPR, etc., to Lamar Odom when he spazzed out in the whorehouse, of which Richard Hunter was I think his official title was the manager of the establishment. He's at the Hollywood Horror Museum. Say again?
Whoremonger.
The official whoremonger, Richard Hunter, but he's now at the Hollywood Horror Museum in Las Vegas there.
Horrormonger.
He's a horrormonger, but also they got the room, the people who own the horror museum that he is managing now got the room from the brothel that Lamar Odom OD'd in and set it up there in the museum. So he had to go in and look at that every day. He was like, what the fuck? But nevertheless, he tells the story. They take him to the site of the former Hoover house in question. And, he's telling the story and explaining, and it does a very good job of adequately being some kind of sane voice in the middle of this whole thing. But basically, Lamar Odom started out as a nice young kid that could play basketball with a nice girlfriend and a couple of kids, and then got in the NBA and made money and started fucking doing cocaine and met a Kardashian and went completely off his shit. and ODing in a whorehouse in the desert, and and here's the goddamn deal. After that he did this and he was brain dead and whatever the fuck, old Khloe Kardashian was about ready to break up with him anyway, and then this happened, and she stayed by him and helped him. He had to learn to talk again. He had to learn to walk again. He was like a vegetable for however many fucking months, whatever the case. And he gets through all of this, and he gets back on his own 2 feet or whatever. And she comes in the house one day and he's smoking crack again. And she said, fuck it. And she went out and filed for divorce the next day. And then I went to sleep on the last bit of the program. I don't actually know what fucking happened to him, because I knew his part was done, and I was sleepy. But Richard Hunter, famed Cult of Cornette member, is starring in this program right now.
He should combine his 2 interests, because I don't know too much about the whorehouses, but you never hear anything about like themed whorehouses. How about horror whores? And they could all be dressed as monsters or spooky or, Elvira.
Now, wait a minute. Do you want the monsters dressed as whores or the whores dressed as monsters?
Oh, no, I think you have to start with the whores and work your way the other way. You have the whores, and now it's about what can we do to attract these nutty horror fans who have lots of money, I guess, and nothing to do.
Well, let's spitball that, or brainstorm or workshop that.
How about speedball? Let's speedball that.
No. That's what old Lamar, that's where he got into trouble. All right, I've got an update on a news story, and folks, it's not as bad as it sounds when I start this, but the news came out, I guess, a couple of days ago. Jonathan, the world's oldest land mammal, the 194-year-old giant tortoise, had died on the island of St. Helena. Have you heard about Jonathan?
I've not heard anything about. Is this what we're replacing the AEW Dynamite reviews with?
Yes, because this is interesting.
This is like National Geographic. I've not heard about Jonathan.
You didn't hear about the Jonathan controversy.
It's a controversy. I didn't hear about the Jonathan controversy. No.
It was his vet announced, and he put out on Twitter, he said, I am the veterinarian of Jonathan, the 194-year-old giant tortoise, the world's oldest land mammal. And I have cared for him and had the privilege to know him and his wisdom for these many years now. And I have seen the eyes that reflect a mirror of the world and society that's gone through the first photograph and the first phone call and the first light bulb and the first plane flight and the landing on the moon. And this great and majestic creature has left this world, right? And everybody just hit the news everywhere. Oh, goddamn. Come to find out that the veterinarian that announced that was really it was the name of Jonathan's veterinarian, but it was an imposter, Brian. It was a scammer that had stolen the identity of the veterinarian of Jonathan, the 194-year-old giant tortoise. And he had made a fake announcement from Brazil trying to sell cryptocurrency. And Jonathan is still alive and well at the age of 194. He's beat old Uncle Elijah, who, as we all know, is still alive at 105. But can you believe that? They made a goddamn a cryptocurrency scam tied to the fake death of this poor, majestic creature.
I got a bunch of messages a couple weeks ago from Missy Hyatt. She must have been hacked. It was all crypto. It was all like, look at how good I did with this crypto.
I have seen more tweets from people saying that Missy Hyatt's account was hacked, and here's her new account because the old account is she's not selling cryptocurrency. How does that happen? That you can't go to any responsible party at this dog and pony show they call Twitter these days and say, obviously this has happened. Restore me my... What would be the matter with some idiot that would set up some kind of business, Brian, where you couldn't just contact people to make things right immediately?
Well, again, I don't know if
Can't
it's
even imagine.
I don't know if it's the same person that hit Missy Hyatt that hit the doctor of Jonathan. So Jonathan's still alive and well.
Jonathan is alive, and he'll soon be 195.
How soon?
Next year.
When?
I don't know.
I mean, soon makes it sound like it'll be within months. Are you just making it up? You acted like you were an expert.
He is currently 194, so on his next birthday, he'll be 195. I don't know what more to tell you. It's estimated anyway, because they assigned him 100 and whatever years ago an arbitrary birthday date so that they could celebrate, as the article said, but that they have been estimating because they didn't see when he was born. They just know that he's been around a long fucking time, so they started counting.
So he could be 200, and we just don't know.
It is within the realm of possibility. He might be only 191 and be trying to fool everybody, work some kind of AARP scam. I don't know.
He should start an OnlyFans. I'm sure plenty of people would like to watch a live stream of the 195-year-old tortoise, excuse me.
Tortoise, not to, that's a slur in the turtle and tortoise community. If you,
I guess so, yeah.
If you confuse the two, but well, speaking of OnlyFans, to be honest, this is kind of the next piece of news that we have in current events. It kind of goes within that genre. Have you heard about the Noem family saga, Brian? We got to take just a second to acknowledge this. My longtime close personal friend, Kristi Noem, and her family drama that's been playing out. Have you watched the news at all, Brian? Have you functioned over the last few days?
I believe Kristi Noem was Lord Littlebrook's nickname, if we're going to be correct. No, I've seen this story. Unfortunately, the newspapers really want you to see the image of this fucking guy with his fake tits. It's the weirdest fucking thing ever.
And making kissy face. And here's I don't even know how to describe this, and it would probably be brutal if I did to the people around the world who don't have to put up with this foolishness. But if you just want to Google it, they found out. And here's the irony in the situation, man. This is irony in a situation used properly. They're saying that it may have been an illegal immigrant that released this information to get even with Kristi Noem for being the head of this fucking fiasco.
How did they get it?
Well, they might have very well been on the same goddamn websites that her husband was. See, apparently for people around the world, Kristi Noem, who was the ice Barbie in charge of Hitler's private Gestapo that would admit to nothing, and has another one of the plastic surgery faces that all the women in his orbit have to hide their ghoulish nature. They're probably snake people. While she's been campaigning across the country, including spending $200 million in taxpayer money, regardless of whatever you think about the ICE operations. She got a campaign of over $200 million for TV commercials and media depicting her riding the horse and wearing the costumes and deporting the people as the face of the Department of Homeland Security. $200 million of our money to make Ice Barbie fulfill her fantasies of being a goddamn showgirl or whatever. Her husband was home spending $5,000 on a video hooker to look at him dressed up as a woman with gigantic fake boobs underneath his shirt.
And the nipples were crooked.
And the nipples were crooked, but he was doing the best he could with homemade material. But the thing that blew up the internet and the news was not that this douchebag, this heartless, blood-sucking ghoul spent $200 million of taxpayers' money to finger herself in public, cosplaying as all the things she fantasized about being. while she was having an affair on said husband at home with another one of those dipshits that's been orbiting the Trump criminal regime, Corey Lewandowski. I don't remember what his official title is besides, assistant dick sucker. But while the thing that broke the internet was the husband spending $5,000 of his own money on the video hooker and dressing up, which nobody gives a shit. I don't care whether he dresses up or dresses at all. I don't know him. I don't live next to him. I don't never have to see him. And it's none of my business what he wants to dress up as or what he wants to do while he's dressed up, or even how he wants to spend his personal fucking funds. But it's this that blew up the fucking internet instead of the other shit, because if only 7 trans kids in a country of 350 million people didn't want to play high school volleyball, we wouldn't have had to suffer under the Trump administration. But because they did, we do, because that's what they were all trying to say. The trans people, the gay people, those other people, they're going to molest your children. They're going to give Junior a sex change operation in 3rd grade biology. When you pick him up, he's a girl. What do the kids call it, Brian? Projection? The only people that they are persecuting is the people they know deep down that they are, and they don't like it. And there was another guy that Trump pardoned for January 6th. They just brought him back in for more issues with children, which makes several of varying degrees and different types of offenses.
I was going to say, didn't a bunch of people that got pardoned for January 6th get arrested again for a variety of heinous things?
Yes. Yes, they did. Who could have predicted that? And some of these things happened after they got out, where if they wouldn't have been out, they wouldn't have goddamn. So the point is, the call is coming from within the house with these fucking maggots, that everything that they say these other people are going to do is the shit they're doing. And especially where children are concerned. I've just seen, again, within the past week, 3 different pieces of news from the various local newscasts of somebody either beating their kids, mistreating their kids, or whatever with kids, and they're all fucking white people. They're not immigrants. They're not transgender people. They don't appear to be gay people. I'm not going to pry that closely. They're just regular old stupid fucking white people. Just like is still a majority in this country. Stupid fucking white people. But anyway, it's just, and Kristi Noem wants privacy for her family during this time. You know whose family I bet would have liked some privacy? Renee Goods and Alex Preddy's. You fucking bitch. While they wanted some privacy, you were on television slandering them, calling them domestic terrorists after your fucking people murdered them. So fuck you and your privacy. I think people ought to put a picture of your fucking husband and his big titties up on billboards.
Well, to be fair, she's going through a lot. Imagine what you'd feel if you went into your bedroom and found your husband wearing your brassiere.
Imagine what I would feel if I went into my bedroom and found my husband. I'd be going, what the fuck's going on here?
Those pictures are so disturbing. Again, everyone like what you like as long as you don't hurt people, but for God's sakes, don't let the photos get out. How's anyone going to ever see this guy any other way again than wearing this gigantic, ridiculous fake chest?
I don't know. But anyway, Speaking of gigantic fake chests, Chris Jericho came back to AEW. Nah, I shouldn't. He's looking in good shape. But Brian, try to explain to me how in the world that he managed to fuck this up to where that the WWE said, fuck it, we'll pass. Could he have hit him with a ridiculous amount of money that he wanted guaranteed? I know the story is out that they wanted him for a retirement tour and a Hall of Fame deal. What would he think else they wanted him for? And how could he not see that if he, and they both played it right, that he would make millions of dollars from a few days at work and not have to fucking swim in the pools of mediocrity anymore over at the fucking fake bunch? Help me understand.
There's a lot of questions there. And there are different answers for everything. Never forget that Chris Jericho, to this day, may still be the most successful manipulator of Tony Khan. To this day. And if Chris Jericho went to WWE, there wasn't a chance in hell they wanted to hear his creative ideas. Not that their creative is stellar, but it's better than Chris Jericho's. And Chris Jericho sees himself as an artist in and outside of the ring and thinks that his ideas are the ones that he should do. And a lot of us have been calling him creatively bankrupt since, I don't know, around 2020 at least. Maybe before then, but he had a brief period, the early days of AEW, where he was actually all right. WWE wasn't going to do that. WWE just wanted to retire him. End your career here. They didn't see 55-year-old Chris Jericho as someone worth signing for multiple years, nor should they, based on what we saw of him in the ring during his last AEW run where he didn't mean anything for the business. AEW fans got real sick of him, and not in the kayfabe heat kind of way. Please retire was the chant. They wanted him off TV. Funny enough, they started to like their product again a lot more when he wasn't there and his ideas weren't on that show. That's all about to change. And you've seen an about face from a lot of AEW fans on social media. All of a sudden now they love Jericho again because the narrative is he chose AEW. I think the quote was, he will end his career in AEW. It's the only place he wants to work.
Well, actually, you could have switched that around and say AEW ended his career.
But I think, to conclude, two things. One, there's no way WWE could justify an inflated salary for a 55-year-old Chris Jericho who wants to do more than they would ever want him to do. Secondly, I'm not altogether convinced. I mean, he never left the AEW roster page. And we heard that he had time on his contract extended because of injury or missed, period time off, whatever it is. He's never not been under AEW contract. I'm not 100% convinced that he's not still working under the exact same deal he had, and this was all to get people talking. And people did talk for about a day before he came back. There was an article in one of these mock news websites like The Onion, but it wasn't that one, it was a different one, about the horror that he was going to continue making music. And then all of a sudden, some of the usual sources like Dave Meltzer, who has a pretty good source when it comes to Jericho stuff, started saying he chose AEW, WWE would have only wanted this, and now Jericho's back. We could talk about, even though we're not reviewing Dynamite, I know you saw his return appearance, but I think that's what it is. It didn't make any sense for WWE to sign him unless he was just going to do a retirement tour and he was going to bend to their creative. And he has made a fantastic amount of money in his life. He doesn't have to do any of this. He clearly wants to do his stuff, and the only place he's going to be able to do most of that is with Tony Khan, who will give him more money still than WWE would. Again, if there ever was a lapse in the contract, and I'm not convinced that there is until I see something, then Tony Khan would be paying him more than anyone else was bidding against him. So there are elements of this that don't make sense. But Chris Jericho's at 55 years old or whatever is back in AEW.
Well, and I agree with you, depending on the contract thing. What doesn't make sense to me is okay, let's say Tony did extend it, he's still under contract, but I just fail to see how that you would be able to extend it that far, that, oh, we're going to hold him for another 2 years, that they would say in the WWE, we don't think he's coming in for a long time, if ever. If this was just a short-term thing or whatever, did he lie to them about, the term of his contract? Because remember, we said it before when everybody was talking about it coming to an end in 2025. Didn't he say he had a 10-year contract fucking 5 years ago? But the point is, if he's played somebody against somebody else just to get more fucking money, then congratulations to him. But if he was free, clear, and able to go, and he didn't take the chance and the opportunity of doing anything with the WWE in terms of a retirement year and a fucking Hall of Fame deal, 2 or 3 big matches, handful of appearances, it can generate millions. If he didn't do that and he had the option to, he's a fucking idiot. Because even the AEW fans ain't going to want to see him wrestle in AEW. As you said, most of his shit is fucking bad. And he's going to have to at least travel more, if not also work harder, for Tony's inflated payment to him. And after, as you said, he's made tons of money in his life, wouldn't you want to go out on an up note that while you can still do it a couple times in a year, and a lot of people will see it, and you get the Hall of Fame thing and the big time videos and the merchandise sales that'll come with the last JYJ or whatever the fuck they do, or just do bad TV in a fucking indie minded company that a quarter of the people are going to fucking see
for a ton of money. For more money than WWE would give you, because it's an unreasonable amount for the value you have to the wrestling business right now. If you were Chris Jericho and in your head you still have more to give, you still have more you want to do, maybe that's the better way to say it,
then somebody should tell him, look in the mirror and look at yourself.
But if you talk to WWE, and even if you agree, yeah, I'm going to have a retirement year, let's do something special. If they told you right at the beginning, we only want you to lose to Gunther, basically, we only want you to come back so that he can retire you, would you have a problem with that?
Well, but what does that mean? Come back and just have a match with Gunther and boom, and he retires you? Or be brought back, do shit during the course of the year, the culminating program is Gunther and he fucking chokes you out? Well, then, yes, that's a wrestling fucking deal. I'll come in, I'll get over, you give me some guy, boom, 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 and then I'll put the guy over. That's not unreasonable. And at this stage of the game, again, is there a difference of $3 million over the course of that, with all of the millions of dollars that Chris has already made? And I'm sure he's a spendthrift and he's careful with his money. Why would you want to do shit for the next 2 or 3 years or whatever the fuck in the secondary company when you can go out on top in mainstream matches on the strongest television program in the world and get in the fucking Hall of Fame and the whole 9 yards, which comes with merchandising and marketing, etc., that you will benefit from, and also be hooked up with these goddamn Hollywood agents and or record company people that run TKO instead of, does Jericho want to be a trainer for the Jacksonville Jaguars? That's who Tony's connections are. Why wouldn't he want to be with the WWE now and be the world's only unknown 60-year-old wrestling rock singer?
Unless WWE either did not want him
I think they would want. I think they wanted him. I think he fucked it up. I think he, like you said, if this even came to, if it even came to talks, he had too high opinion of himself, wanted too much money, or wasn't realistic. And that's why I say, how could he fuck this up? That's a tailor-made deal, which we've been saying for the past couple of years. Chris comes in, he gets a year on TV and a fucking Hall of Fame, and boom, and that would generate money for everybody. Or he can continue just to be one of the boys and do shit nobody wants to see.
And they did have several teases. Various people made comments on TV, like CM Punk, I think, made a reference one day. Just little things that made people think they're teasing Jericho. People thought Jericho was going to be in the Rumble. People thought Jericho was going to be the Masked Man. People thought Jericho may be announced at some point on the road to WrestleMania. The whole time he was still on the AEW roster page. Never left the roster page at all. If he was negotiating for an extension because he wasn't up, and he was able to tell Tony, hey, WWE, I'm talking to them, they're interested to get more money, that's one thing, but, you know, I'm not saying this is the Brian Pillman situation, but if he was still under contract for a while, it kind of doesn't matter what he wanted to do if he couldn't leave until at least the summer. So I don't know what to think of this whole thing. I think AEW fans are going to really regret this on their TV very, very soon. But yeah, what are your closing thoughts on this?
Well, yeah, and basically what he did, I guess we should finish with that. What he did on the television program. They're in Winnipeg. And yes, I did, because I don't mind watching AEW for 5 minutes to watch a guy walk to the ring and wave at people and then continue waving at people till it becomes humorous. And that's what happened.
Beg them to wave back.
Beg them to wave back. They're in Winnipeg, his original hometown. And golly, who could have known anything when his fucking parents were sitting in the front row? Did you pick up on this? That maybe most people wouldn't have thought, but in Winnipeg, they know who Ted Irvine is. He was goddamn professional hockey player, great, lauded, recognized player. He's sitting on the front row. How could you possibly imagine his son might be on the show? Brian, did anybody even bring this up?
I didn't see Ted Irvine until after, towards the end when he was hugging people around ringside, so.
Well, yeah, he's 80 years old. He sure didn't get out there in fucking 3.5 minutes. Jericho walked right out, and there he was in the front row, and he's singing the fucking song. That's what I'm saying. Tony Schiavone is in the ring for the bogus contract signing, whatever they're going to do. And the pyro goes off apparently either inadvertently or in an odd order because it threw him off. He wasn't ready for whatever was going on. He's supposed to be interrupted by the music and etc., which he finally is. And then out comes Jericho, and the people pop because it's Jericho and he's back and it's his hometown and the music, and they like to sing the song. I can't imagine that it was a surprise to a lot of people in the building because Chris Jericho's father was sitting on the front row that he was going to be there. But then you could tell he was trying to make it like Punk in Chicago. And it wasn't Punk in Chicago. That they cheered because, again, he's a surprise and he's a name and it's his hometown, and they're clapping. And he gets to the ring, and when the music comes down, they don't have anything to sing. Okay. And he kept exhorting them, stand up, make noise. He's walking around the ring, stand up motion, make noise. He's milking it. And okay, and they try to work with him a little, and it got old. And he was thinking it was going to be this continuous. Remember the Punk thing where Punk came out in Chicago? And
not just him. We've seen it a few times recently. I think AJ Styles, a few people where the crowd really, really wanted to show them appreciation and didn't stop.
But they did here. They stopped.
Yep. They stopped.
And he didn't. He walked around and he held the ear to his hand. That's the problem with leprosy. But he held the hand to his ear, and then he's made the dramatic statement, Winnipeg, AEW, I'm home, and then left.
An immediate about face from AEW fans online who suddenly love Chris Jericho again. The narrative being shifted to Chris Jericho chose AEW, which may not be entirely accurate. And it was underwhelming. Again, it was awkward too, just the way the fireworks went off when Shivani was talking.
Yeah, I'm thinking somebody misfired something because that was just odd.
Right, or because that couldn't be like, this is the sign Jericho's coming back. Before anything, just scare Shivani with the fireworks.
Yeah, just scare Tony into fucking forgetting his own home address.
He looked annoyed. He looked like, what the fuck?
Yes. Because it threw him off.
And Jericho came out there. He appears to be in good shape. His face looked thinner than we've seen him in a long time. But he was expecting like a big hometown thing that wasn't there. And I don't know if it's because the surprise got out a little bit beforehand that people were expecting him there, or if it's because it's Chris Jericho and it's 2026. I don't know.
Well, and to be fair, here's another thing. That just because it's his hometown doesn't mean it's his hometown. How long has it been since Chris Jericho lived in Winnipeg? The big hometown heroes, you think not just Punk in Chicago, but they know he lives there. The Hardys in North Carolina have that vibe where they can, or at least for a while there, I don't know about it lately, get, the big fucking pop in North Carolina. They know that Jericho now lives in Tampa or Florida or wherever the guys go to avoid paying state tax. And it's not like he's around town all the time being a fucking member of the community. So it's not like the Hart family in Calgary where there was still, you see what I'm saying? Yeah. They were all still there. They were part of the thing. Like me in Louisville. That's what I'm saying. So,
well, Chris Jericho's big return, I don't know what he's going to do. I mean, if you look at the main event picture,
I'm not.
Assuming he'd be in the main event picture, I can't imagine him, again, at this stage. MJF, we never need to see that again. Kenny Omega, I don't know if that would be the matchup for 2026, him and 2026 Jericho. Swerve, I don't know about that. Adam Page, Ospreay, that'd be a waste of Ospreay. There aren't a lot of things you'd really want to see Chris Jericho do. Not even just people who don't like AEW or have problems with the way things are done there, but if you actually just look at it objectively, where would you even slot Chris Jericho or want to see him slotted?
A bicycle rack in back of the building. Stick him right in there, and that way he can't do any harm to himself or others. Well, I mean, that's the thing is that, again, in WWE, you get 2 or 3, matches of some legitimate profile over the course of the year with maybe a mixture of people that he has had some animosity with in the past, or maybe a dream match he's never had been in ring with this guy, and then have his big last match. And it would be new and fresh and interesting. Now it's just, oh, Jesus Christ, he's going to be around doing whatever with these whatevers on this whatever program regularly. Bleh.
Well, beggars can't be choosers. Welcome back to AEW, Chris Jericho, and this should be interesting.
You know what it makes me want to do? It makes me want to block out the outside world, Brian. It makes me want to block out the outside world and just listen to things that make me happy, happy, happy. And that's why I am proud to say
flowers everywhere.
Flowers everywhere. Something was in her hair.
In her hair.
Could have been sperm. I'm not sure.
It wasn't sperm.
But that's why I'm.
That wasn't how the song went, Jim. That was, well, in the park. In the park.
I changed the ending in the park. But folks, I'll tell you what else has been changed. And that's the offer from Raycon, our friends over at Raycon, because they've been talking about the open earbuds. Now they've brought back, with a new, improved, renewed push, the Everyday Earbuds Classics, just in time for Mother's Day.
My favorites.
They're the ones that you stick right in there and they just block out everything and give you clear, immersive sound, a go-to for everyday listening. Active noise cancellation brocks out the background noise. You're just going to send mom on a trip. What you do is you bake some brownies at home, or potentially grow some mushrooms in the backyard.
Okay,
and you give them to mom for Mother's Day, and then you put these earbuds in her ears, and then you either hit the fucking Outlaws Greatest Hits CD, Greengrass and High Tides Forever, or maybe if you don't want her to climb up on the roof, just play some Pink Floyd, and she'll be writhing around on the floor.
Okay, let's stop right there. First of all, those are horrible suggestions if someone was tripping. You want to say Screamadelica, maybe Forever Changes by Love. You don't want to suggest any of the things you just suggested.
Oh, but for heaven's sake.
We also want to say that mom, all kidding and joking aside, because we wouldn't do anything like that to mom, and that was just the funny portion of this spot.
At least not to our own moms, but somebody else's mother.
All moms need to listen to good music and to drown out some of this unnecessary chatter. And of course, Raycon, the great thing about the Raycon earbuds, and I love them. I have my pair. And of course, my family has stolen all my other pairs. And Jim, I know they're very popular in your house. Personal endorsement, there it is.
Well,
Raycon.
I can think of no other, unless you've got them in Swami's ears too. And actually, have you tried the new dog earbuds?
There's no dog earbud. Don't make up models. They've talked to us about this.
But see, the dogs don't care what color they are, because the humans, they got new colors available: blush violet, cool mint. See, I would think the older people would want like silver gray, so it'd blend in with their hair. But then they won't be able to find them. They'll be stuck in their hair like that bird poop and sperm from the song.
Okay, that wasn't in the song. Bird poop and sperm now in the song. Okay.
Oh, well, because they're in the park.
Hell of a day in the park, yeah.
Yeah, well, you know what? When you go out in nature, you take these risks, Brian. I'll tell you what, add in over 3 million happy bird poop-free customers of Raycon and a 30-day happiness guarantee, along with these fine quality earbuds that have the same premium audio quality as the big brands, but at half the price, a mere smidgen of soupçon. There is no reason to overpay when Raycons are around, and you can give them to mom for Mother's Day. She doesn't just have to listen to trippy psychedelic music. She can listen to a podcast. She can listen to us. Tell her, as a matter of fact, set the head for the earbuds on automatic so that she will automatically hear our programs. Brian, that way you can make sure mom keeps up on all of the Jim Cornette news. But she can listen to anything she wants to.
She can listen to anything she wants to, and so can
possibly,
you. And
she can listen into your phone calls and find out exactly what her children are doing.
It's not exactly how this works, but you can listen to your phone calls.
If you get a qualified phone technician to go into your house and just modify certain amounts of wiring, then you can eavesdrop on your family's phone calls on your earbuds. I have this on good authority. So
okay, I don't know who your authority is, but it's not my authority. But
you need to just keep track of the family. That's what the earbuds will do for you. Give them to mom, and you can keep track of everybody.
Oh, yes. You hear that sound, Jim? You know what that means. As we said earlier, fun and games aside, we personally endorse this product. We enjoy our Raycon earbuds. Our families do as well, and we have a great deal for the listeners.
To celebrate the moms in your life, go to buyraycon, BUYRAYCON.com/JCE and you're going to be getting 15% off the Everyday Earbuds Classic. Buy Raycon.com/JCE, 15% off. Give them to mom. However many moms you've got. Let's say your dad was a real pill, as Mama Cornette used to say, and he was married 5 or 6 times. So you've got stepmothers out the yin-yang. Give them all these earbuds for Mother's Day.
Yes, that's
Don't
what you
leave
should give them. Yes.
anybody out.
That's right. One more time, Jim, that promo code for the earbuds we all love, Raycon.
Buy Raycon.com/JCE. Well, you know, Brian, talking about not watching AEW, and by the way, I've never felt so free. I mean, food tastes better, and I mean, the air smells cleaner. Just going a week without that filthy, filthy habit. But there was interesting variations and reactions amongst the listeners when we said that. People have said, "Oh, God damn it, come on now. You know, don't do this to us because we don't want to watch the show. We just want to hear you guys take the piss out of it and explain what doesn't make any sense." Or good, now there'll be more time for good old-fashioned wrestling. But mostly kind of the self-servingness that they don't want to have to watch this shit. That's what they want to foist it upon us, has been the response so far, wouldn't you say?
I mean, we've seen a lot of response and a lot of people who have said, good, it's about time. What took so long? And then other people who said, I used to watch it. Now I let you guys watch it. I look forward to it. And then there were other people that, you know, they really love and wait for the reviews, and it's one of the highlights of their weekend. That resonates with me when people say, like, oh, it's one of the things I look forward to on my commute. Like, I know what that's like to be in the car and have a favorite show you listen to, and
well, change jobs and get a shorter trip. How about that?
Well, the point is, it's a split reaction from the audience.
No. Well, we will continue to monitor the situation because I told you, I said, if anybody either has projectile diarrhea in the middle of the ring or accidentally does something really good, let me know. And actually, I guess Jericho was the first example of the projectile diarrhea theory. But also something happened here, I guess just a few days ago, whatever the fuck it was, on a show that we never watched to begin with, Collision. Now Kyle, our friend Kyle Fletcher, is injured now, from what I'm hearing, and I've seen this clip. Do we know what body part yet?
I have not heard what body part. I only heard that he was in a walking boot. So that could be, you know, it could be anything on his lower leg.
Well, then to me, that takes it into an ankle of some description, because what happened, again, the clip is going around on Twitter. Him and Mark Davis are wrestling these two little, whoever they are. And to show how big and powerful they are, when we'll talk about whether Kyle's game ought to be a power wrestler or not in a minute, but Davis has the power and the weight and the gravitational pull of that big giant ass behind him. But they pick him up and they slam him into each other in the middle of the ring, and then they turn and they're going to give them the belly to belly kind of overhead throw suplex business to the two guys after they've rammed them together. And they figured out the part about we need to throw these guys in opposite directions so they don't land on each other. They got that part right, but they forgot about what was going to happen to their own legs because they were so close together when they threw them overhead and fell backwards. And the way that Davis, the way he threw his guy, he was up in the air, and the way that Kyle threw his guy, he was on the way, but his leg was underneath Davis. And when Davis came down, Kyle's leg was folded up underneath him, and to me, I can't believe it wasn't a catastrophic knee injury rather than something ankle and a walking boot. Because all of his weight came down on the top of Kyle's thigh while his leg was folded up underneath him. And that at the very least should have snapped the posterior cruciate ligament, but they come up with this shit that we're strong enough to do this, and we know how to execute this move. And again, they're just making a lot of this shit up as they go, and they don't always. Do they tell the producers of their matches? Do the producers know any better? Some have traditionally in the past and not been listened to, but they don't think everything through from a standpoint when there's other people involved in the ring, whatever. You see what I'm saying, Brian?
I do. I mean, when I watched it, I didn't see it as much of a I mean, I have to watch it again, I guess. I thought it was just the way Kyle landed. I didn't realize Davis played a part in the way he landed, but let me go back and watch it again.
Well, it was both of it. They needed to be farther apart to do something like that.
Yeah, it was everyone jammed in together.
That's, there's things that, like the old deal that Bobby and Stan or Dennis used to do as a double team move, or that other people have done, where the guy's sitting on the top turnbuckle and fucking the other partner picks the guy up like the old atomic drop position, but sets him on the lap of the guy on the turnbuckle so he can do the power slam, right? You remember what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Guys used to try to copy that, but they didn't think. They would take the guy right over. I saw this happen on like a Kansas City TV. I don't know, the Rock and Roll RPMs or something may have been trying to do this. They'd take the guy over, and when they pick him up to put him on the fucking lap, the guy's feet fly up and kicks the guy who's sitting on a turnbuckle underneath the fucking chin. When we were doing this shit, especially with the job guys, but even, with some of the regular guys, when we would get in programs with them, we'd explain to them exactly what the midnight we're going to do and how to take it and where to be, so nobody got hurt. But, especially with the job guys on television. Like I said the other day when we were talking about Dennis, one time, this one guy got potatoed because we said, all you have to do is stand up straight and look at Bobby. And he stood up sideways and looked at the ground. So he got potatoed. But you have to think of the things that can happen when there's two people doing two different things at the same time, and where they come together, and you need more separation, or you need to think about just little 20-degree changes in what we would always do is pick the guy up at a 20-degree angle from the guy sitting on the fucking turnbuckle and then turn him while his feet are already up. Shit like that. But so a point being, it's just they're trying to do all this shit on the fly, and they're making it up, and it's positioning. You've got to create more space for yourself to do shit like that. And now who knows how long Kyle's going to be hurt at this point. Maybe they will need Jericho after all, Brian.
And Kyle's the TNT champion also, so...
Well, the whole company will fall apart if that lineage is disrupted.
But again, unfortunately, we're in an age where injuries happen more frequently than ever before, and a lot of it's based on the style, or in this case, just based on the positioning. I'm watching a video, it hits into Davis, and then he rolls out of the ring.
Boom.
But, the other issue is, because of the style, and because of the rate of injuries, and the realistic... The thing you always have to be conscious of, that someone may get hurt in every single match now. I mean, it's always been a thing of wrestling, but especially now. Why is the TNT champion wrestling with Davis against the Rascals on Collision? But again, that's maybe a bigger question. But if Kyle's out for any significant period of time right now, you really could ask, why is this happening? But there's a reckoning coming for a lot of guys with the style they're working, because the guys who are younger are getting more and more injured. And the guys who've been wrestling this style, like Omega for a while, are a shell of themselves right now. So
that you keep explaining to me that that's Okada's problem instead of just he's a lazy, somnambulistic, comatose, walking around in a stupor motherfucker.
And he's better off than a lot of them. Look at Ibushi. Look at Ibushi. People were raving about Ibushi 10 years ago. And if you watched his stuff in a vacuum, it was impressive. Now, I would argue that there was some sort of weird detachment between him and... It just seemed like a guy doing a lot of moves or kicking out of stuff, and it's a guy who could do a lot of interesting things as opposed to a captivating wrestling character. But he can't walk. He can't walk, and every time we've heard about him attempt to come back or seen it, the best case scenario is he works really, really slow. But he's shot. Ishii, he may look like Mr. Miyagi, but he's not that old. He's shot. He's shot. There's a whole generation of New Japan guys and some of the Americans that worked on top with him where these guys are shot and they're not that old.
And this is the style that these guys are wanting to emulate.
Yeah. You know, it's you know, everyone thought that the guys who copied Mick Foley would be the ones who really suffered, but you know, it still goes back to the guys who copied Dynamite Kid and that style, and he did it better than anyone. I'm not trying to compare Dynamite Kid to some of these modern guys, but he couldn't walk. I mean, he lost a leg eventually, but he was a cripple in his 20s. So you really have to wonder about the reckoning that will, especially for AEW, where it's all about match quality. That's all it's about.
Well, I don't know if I'd say the term match quality as much as match busy.
20 minutes,
as long as they're busy.
20 minutes, do everything you can. Pop the audience as much as you can. You got to do something crazier than the last time you did it. And then kick out of everything.
And I should bring up also, since we're talking about people that actually... we're talking about people that are injured or have been injured. Now we can just reference somebody that should have been injured, but miraculously wasn't, because we're not just picking on AEW. Io Sky, you sent me the clip of her just diving out of the ring on her head. And I don't know how many people saw this. This was a fan cam shot. I don't know what the television shot looked like. But was this Raw or SmackDown? Help me.
I believe it was Raw at the Garden.
Okay, she is running and she's going to dive through the ropes onto the opponents, and she dove and the middle rope caught her thigh just enough to slow her down and change the trajectory, and she went straight to the ground. She got her hands down first, but it didn't look, and even in slow motion, you could not see through this as anything other than just an instant paralysis right in front of you. Head first on the ground, boom, flat of her back, sat up, stood up, talked to her partner, and rolled back in the ring. Again, you could have got money in Vegas saying, this woman is paralyzed. We agree with you, whatever. And it's not just AEW, although it happens there more often because, again, of the lack of supervision and adequate training. But it also shows that you don't know what the fuck. This is my point about wrestling and has been all along. The other day, they stopped a main event between the guys because the guy super kicked the other guy and knocked him into Neptune. And it looked like a nice super kick, but didn't look like anything that would even be a potato. It was just one of those things. It was, but it didn't appear visually abnormal in any way. This girl dives through the ropes, lands on her head on a padded, yes, but still concrete surface, and gets right up and goes on. So you never know what the real shot looks like and what really can do damage, which goes back to what I've always said, unless we tell them if something looks tight enough to be legitimate, but doesn't have to be legitimate, and you sell it, anything could fucking be it. Do you see what I'm saying, Brian? You really can't tell when it's real. So who knows what a vertical suplex feels like in walking around in public?
No one.
Who knows what the goddamn any move feels like in a wrestling ring unless you tell them by getting right up because it didn't hurt you at all. That's my point.
Well, again, the injuries are more frequent. The Io Sky thing was pretty scary. And it was on a dive that didn't mean anything because that's what dives are now. I saw a clip the other day, and again, you can't go back in time. But you can still acknowledge stuff. It was Tiger Mask versus Mr. Saito, I believe. WWF TV. I think late 82. And it was the first time anyone in that building, and more than likely anyone watching that show at home, saw someone run from one side of the ropes to the other and dive over the top rope with a crossbody. And Tiger Mask had a way of doing it where it looked dangerous, or it didn't look smooth. His feet were like behind him. You know what I mean? Like it never looked smooth. It looked like, man, this could go a lot of different ways. People jumped out of their seats. They went crazy. I don't know if Tiger Mask did that move again when he wrestled on WWF TV, because he had more than one match. I'm not saying you can go back in time to a point where no one had ever seen anything before, but when there are dives in every match all the time, and oftentimes, they don't even look good. It looks like someone just went through the ropes and pushed someone a little bit.
Yeah.
That doesn't even look good. So, a lot of things now that are unnecessarily Queen of the Realm because no one will miss it if it's not there are the things that are going to cause the injuries. That Io Sky injury, I can't say injury. Bump, where the fan, you say it was fan cam footage, the fan was saying, oh no, oh my God, oh no. Because it looked like a broken neck. And we don't know what damage, if any, was, caused there or happened there, but it's a scary time. You're going to see a lot more just freak injuries all the time, I think, now.
But anyway, see, we saw all that stuff and didn't have to sit through 2.5 hours of goddamn misery for AEW's benefit.
Did you hear about the main event of Dynamite?
Oh, good Lord, yes. And here's another. MJF versus Spitball Bailey was the main event. And again, is AEW being an entity, as Uncle Dave always says, well, it's good for the wrestling business because they'll drive the salaries up and the boys will get more money. So it's good for the wrestling business. Is it good for the wrestling business, or is it good for those guys' business? Is it good for the guys, whether it be the WWE guys or the AEW guys, that get paid more money because if they're worth the shit, the WWE wants to keep them. And if the billionaire wants to add them to the toy chest, he's going to bid it up. But that's still going to be a finite group of guys in the entire wrestling business. And what does that mean for the fans? So it's good for the guys' business, but it's not good for the wrestling business. And again, with MJF said, it's the same principle as Jericho could have done the retirement tour with a couple of matches and the Hall of Fame thing and the WWE and gone back to the scene of his greatest triumphs, and the most people would have seen it, and it made a bunch of money with merchandise and the pay-per-views and the premium live events and blah, blah, blah. Or he could stay and just be on a bad television show doing bad shit himself on a regular basis for a few $1 million more from the mark. And the same thing, we're losing potential talent as fans and as the business as an entirety when MJF is now apparently stuck there forever. And we've said after the pay-per-view, obviously, gobble, gobble, one of us. I said at the time, he doesn't have enough pull in the company to just flat out say, I'm not doing the syringe spot. He doesn't have the pull here to say, I'm just not going to lower myself as your world champion to have a competitive match with this fucking rib on national television. He's one of them. He's going to do it. He's going to take the money, and then he's going to go to Hollywood or just go home because Tony will have paid him millions and millions of dollars. But the wrestling business lost a talent that could have prospered at an even greater pace, not financially possibly, but because he's been stuck there. Kyle is now he's hurt, but even before he was hurt, I've mentioned this before, he's wasting so much potential. The longer he's in that indie-minded group where he doesn't learn how to put a match together that makes sense and just spams moves, as the kids say, and the longer he's not in an environment where there's a professional booking process, even if it may not always be great, at least there's a process there, and he can understand things and learn and expand. He's going to be there doing tag team matches on Collision, having fat guys land on his fucking body parts. The business and the fans' enjoyment of it will not prosper in the long run because one of the companies that has major distribution is owned by an indie-minded fucking guy that thinks he's a booker. But it'll drive the salaries up for the boys involved, but it won't be good for the business because talent like MJF and Kyle and other people will not ever see their full potential. Does this make sense to you that nobody's talking about?
Well, I mean, I think it's obviously a choice to stay with AEW. It says a lot about the wrestler who makes that choice. You know, it's not like WWE, like you said, it's not an even, oh yeah, they're offering the same amount of money. WWE will come in less and tell you about opportunities still. But, you know, I don't know. It's hard to, with MJF, it's hard to defend all the stuff we've seen and just say, you know, he doesn't have the pull to do it. Sometimes at some point you got to say, maybe he wants to do it. Maybe he wants,
that's what I'm saying.
Maybe he wants to wrestle Speedball.
You can't tell me that he couldn't have stood up if he wanted to. But that's the thing. If you're already fully formed, you've been a star, you've been at the top of the fucking business, and you want to come as a retirement plan and take Tony's money, that's one thing. Fine and dandy. But I think it hurts the overall wrestling business when young guys get stuck there making a ton of money and never learning anything or getting as good as they could be or contributing to the fans and the overall business's fucking enjoyment and pleasure, just and not accomplishing shit that they could accomplish in their personal lives because they're having this ridiculous amount of money dangled in front of them that no other person, place, or thing would ever pay them or has ever paid them before or would ever pay them again. I can understand why that's but if you get into like a sport in the Olympics and you have the drive to succeed, or even if you want to be the best rock star or the best actor in Hollywood or whatever, if you have the drive to be the best, if somebody comes and says, well, I'll tell you what, we'll give you $100,000 to be the best in the world, or we'll give you $2 million to be the fifth best. I don't know.
Well, MJF towered over Speedball, so at least he got to be the big man in the match, and Speedball looks ridiculous. I know
it's ridiculous when he tries to come out there and deepen his voice and intimidate people, isn't it? And he's so nerdy in the process that nobody ever would actually speak that way except him in his head.
Well, promos may not be his strong suit, but also Again, going back to the thing, even if he really was the biggest badass of all time, which I don't buy, but even if he was, he's 5'6", he's 150 pounds. It doesn't work. To their fans, they like it, but, they look at all the bad shit their fans have liked over the last several years. They still defend Orange Cassidy. But Speedball, to me, I think sometimes, there have been times you've been too hard on people, but this one, I can't find any disagreement with you. If there was a junior heavyweight division, I'd be okay with it.
It needs to be a junior miss division.
Either way, if it was other people that size, I'd be okay with it.
There are no other people that size.
But again, to pass him off as being this kung fu expert, even if he was, it doesn't look right. It doesn't pass the eye test.
Well, something else I'm looking at, Brian, you sent me some information, and this, it looks like an eye chart. It's a map of Wembley Stadium with a dot where every seat that's been sold is. And I think I need some ocular help because I don't see very many. We speculated on this last week when we talked about the number of tickets they sold on the first day and how it compared with previous years' events there in the building. And I said, why are they undertaking this massive expense to run this building that they know that they were not going to, they did it once the first time and that was great. And then they did it again and they're okay. And why would you do this? And why would you spend this money? It's not necessary. Do you know what the capacity, the total number of seats in Wembley Stadium is for a wrestling setup? I guess if you opened everything up, Brian, take a guess at the number.
85,000.
93,556. Do you know what they set the stadium up for this wrestling event when they put the tickets on sale?
78,000.
36,777. Before they even knew how many tickets they were going to sell, they rented a 95,000 seat stadium and set it up to hold 37,000 people. And then, as we mentioned, they sold 19,000 some on the first day. Now, in the last, I guess, a week or 10 days that it's been or whatever, they're at 21,896. So basically, they're at 22,000 for a setup of 36,000 in a stadium that holds almost 94,000. And somebody brought up that Tony's dad, Shad the dad.
Shad the dad. My dad, Shad.
My dad, Shad. They have a stadium that their football over there, the European football team plays in that holds like 35,000 people. And they could have just had it at their fucking stadium. But he had to rent Wembley Stadium because it's cool. Your thoughts, if any?
I don't know. If you're Tony, why don't you just go hire the hottest band that sells tickets right now for one night and make it rockin' wrestling? Get a full house.
The Great American Bash.
But with a budget.
But the Great English Bash.
The Great British Bash.
I wonder what Delbert McClinton and David Allen Coe are doing these days. I bet he could get them real easy.
You should put Grado.
Apparently, Grado draws better in England than AEW does. Or the Hydro in Scotland.
And let's be fair, it's nothing to sneeze at selling 21,000 advance tickets for your show. That is an accomplishment, but obviously it doesn't have the enthusiasm behind it that it had either of the two previous times, or was it Texas last year, or was it the last Wembley? It may have been Texas, where they actually did have a big walk-up, and they got to around 30. Am I thinking of the right thing?
Yes, because they didn't do, it was all in Texas last year because they didn't do all in Wembley, all in London, whatever the fuck it is. All empty. That the point is, no, it's nothing. It's nothing to sneeze at to sell 22,000 tickets, except when you've rented a 95,000 seat building. And from, as we illustrated the other day, from history, from just comparing the previous events based on the amount of tickets sold the first week and the first day versus the rest of the lead up time, they ain't gonna get to 30,000 paid just by the percentages of previous shows. And what, you know, it's one of the biggest stadiums in the world. It's going to look like a piss hole in a snowbank. And why would you spend that money just to, this is like a goddamn Paul Alperstein type of deal. Remember the AWF? Were you old enough?
Oh, I used to watch it every week on CBS. It was awful.
When they started their tapings, it was a rib because he did them in Chicago at some kind of studio there, and he paid 1,000 people $20 each to come in and be the audience to cheer and boo in the right places. And we were, because that was the first time in history that anything like that had ever been done, where you paid people to come. And we said it was the first negative $20,000 house in pro wrestling history. It's just paying to be in a building. Just paying extra money to be in a building.
Should Tony do a WrestleMania 7 and announce that due to the ongoing war seemingly everywhere on the planet right now, that he has security concerns, can't be at Wembley Stadium, it'll be at Wembley Arena. It can't be at Royal Albert Hall, it'll be at the Royal Albert Mall.
I think it might be at the Uncle Albert Admiral Halsey Mall.
Ah, very good.
I
hands
think
across my face.
Yeah, hands in my dad's pockets. Hands in my dad's pockets.
Pockets.
Hands across the Anyhow, so is that going down? See, it gets better. After it sinks in on you. Tweedle-deedle-diddle, lipsy-jitter. All right.
Little Tony wants to spend it all around.
We're being silly, but that's going to be a big pay-per-view too. So don't worry, the pay-per-view will pay the extra rent.
I told you, and you disagreed with me, Ram was his best album, and this is from Ram, and you talked about there were silly songs on Ram. I guess you could technically consider this a silly song, but fuck the hooks. It's like nonstop. He just has hooks.
Well, that's where he got that scar on his cheek. He had an itch and forgot about the hook.
No, that's the second Paul. The first Paul didn't have any scars. It was after they switched Pauls.
Well, that's an old pirate joke. You know where a pirate keeps his buccaneers?
Where's that?
Under his bucking hat. That's an old Norman Frederick Charles III joke. So anyway, so that's how they're doing over there at Wembley for all of the.
Well, that was Dynamite.
Folks. Yeah, that was Dynamite. We got rid of that.
Hey, did you see the photo of Sergeant at Arms of the Cult of Cornette, Nick Barrett, with Mercedes Moné?
Yes. He did the photo op there.
He's wearing the Cult of Cornette beret, the white sash. He has a pin on the...
And a saber.
And a saber. Somehow they let him walk the streets with that, and it says... Today, I spent some times with Mercedes Vernado, that's her Twitter handle and her name, walking the halls of the Manitoba Museum. We spoke on many topics, and I wished her luck in her battle tonight versus Jody Threat. She didn't like some of my advice, but handled it in a professional manner. And you know what? She posed for these two photos, so I gotta give her credit, 'cause we heard from that one listener who went to an Orange Cassidy photo op, and Orange Cassidy was a complete prick to him. Yeah. Because of the Jim Cornette t-shirt. And give her credit. We've seen photos of her where she's 5 feet away from the people who paid to take photos with her.
She went right up to give me the thumbs down, though.
Oh, but she went right to the man with the saber. How do they let him walk the halls of any
no,
museum?
See, that's the thing. He looks so official. Because the outfit does have the balance, has the ambiance. You've got the official looking saber, or beret, rather. You got the beret and the sash, and it's so bright, and it's obvious that white stands for good. So you're some type of militia person and on the side of good. And then the saber just kind of completes it, and you don't really question it. It looks so authoritative.
Did he change his last name to Nick Beret? Maybe he did.
Well, it's still winding its way through the courts.
Well, that's the news of Mercedes Monet's personal appearances. I don't know if a photo of her and Nick will be in will be in Monet Mag. But Jim, a lot of the listeners are wondering, and I'll admit I am too, are we watching the AEW pay-per-view event that's coming up? That obviously they're building up on this show that you're no longer watching.
I didn't know, but what's coming up now?
It's Dynasty.
Oh, another of my ideas that he stole. Remember in 1982 when I had the Dynasty of Champions? And 1983 too, the Dynasty of Champions. Many fine internationally known names: the exotic Adrian Street, the Angel Frank Morrell, the Bounty Hunter Jerry Novak, the aforementioned Norman Frederick Charles III, Jesse Barr, Apocalypse, the Soldier of Fortune. Household names were in the Dynasty of Champions. When is this thing?
This thing will be Sunday, April 12th.
Oh, Christ.
In Vancouver, British Columbia at the Rogers Arena.
You know, Vancouver is a lovely town. It's my favorite place in Canada. If it wasn't so far and it wasn't Canada, I would go back there. But I've always enjoyed being there when I was there before, never to return. What are they going to do this time that they didn't do last time? People were electrocuted. A guy was impaled. There were numerous examples of severe blood loss. A bunch of people broke a bunch of things. What are they? Are they advertising a live disembowelment on this program? What is trying to entice us to watch this hours and hours of repetitive horse shit?
And I remind you, as we are recording, more than a week away from the event, and Tony likes to add a lot of matches in the last day or two, sometimes the last hours leading into the show, so we don't have everything. But so far, for the pre-show, Marina Shafir versus Alex Windsor.
That's Alex Mountbatten Windsor to you. Show some respect.
Well, do you think she'll mount Marina here?
I don't know if she can make it over the hump. I would suggest that possibly one would top the other, but then it just depends on who wants to engage in some reverse cowgirl. I can't think of any more double entendre puns, so I'll just go straight to naming sexual positions. See, this is the pre-show, so the answer to our question is easy. We don't have to watch this because we never do.
Jim, in a match for the Tag Team Championship, the champions FTR versus Cope and Cage.
What on the... No, this is not the pre-show.
No, this is now the main show.
Cope and Cage or Cope and Seethe? My God, are you past it? Are you over it? I again appreciate what Dax did with the GoFundMe for Teresa and etc. And I'm not talking about anybody personally here, but they shot an angle for this 6 months ago, and then the baby faces just went away, even though they weren't the injured ones. And in the meantime, and in between time, does anybody give a shit about FTR and their fake manager anymore? No. So it's in Vancouver. It's in Canada, so this will be the match of the night.
All right, we'll see if Vancouver likes some Toronto boys. Jim, well, by the way, prediction. Do you have a prediction for that match?
No, I don't know what the fuck they're going to do, and they probably all don't either. Who knows? And if it's up to the whims of Tony, it may be you know, what his Adderall dosage is that particular day.
Jim, for the Continental Championship, the champion Jon Moxley versus Will Ospreay.
Oh, two of their top baby faces, except that the one baby face was a heel until he became a baby face. But then when they remembered that their other baby face that was coming back from injury had to get even with the guy that hurt him, who was also a baby face, so he just became a heel again for no reason. Yeah. What title is it for?
The Continental Championship.
Nobody is going to interfere. If nobody's going to interfere, then if Ospreay doesn't win this fucking match, then they're all out of their fucking minds. How about that?
Well, Jim, in a match where if Darby Allin wins, he receives a future World Championship match, Darby Allin versus Andrade El Idolo.
Oh, boy. I don't honestly care. Again, Darby, I was going to say it might be a worthwhile stipulation if Darby loses, they commit him to some type of involuntary psychiatric analysis. That I could get behind. But otherwise,
For the AEW Women's Championship, Jim, the champion Tekla versus Jamie Hayter.
Hayter! No, she remember when she was kind of good once before she became the transgender love child of Ronald McDonald?
I don't know if that's a fair thing.
I don't know what's happening over there, but yeah, I don't care.
All right, finally, Jim, for the AEW World's Championship, MJF, the champion, versus Kenny Omega.
Well, let's see. We've got a world champion who apparently, by the description and length of the match the other night on television, it took everything that he could to beat a fucking fifth grade karate class kid. But Kenny is a broken down shell of a human being all of his internal organs, his bladder, his spleen, his kidneys, his uterus, they could all fall out his asshole at any minute. So I think MJF will retain. And basically, we all know where this is going. So Ospreay can win the title in Wembley. And if it ain't going there, then again, they're all fucking nuts.
Well, that's the fucking nuts AEW Dynasty coming on Sunday, April 12th on pay-per-view or wherever you stream or whatever it is you do. Are we watching?
Yeah, I know. I'd like to stream on some of their pay-per-views.
MJF and Omega is a big match. Are we watching
it? Let's see what happens.
What needs to happen to change your mind from whatever it is right now?
I don't know, some goddamn horrible news-making thing like the ring lights fall in the middle of the fucking finish and just crush the ring and everybody in it. I'll talk about that.
But will you watch it? Will you order it?
You know, that almost happened in Chattanooga one night at the old Memorial Auditorium. About 10 minutes before they were going to ring the bell, the fucking cable broke and the ring lights just fell right in the ring.
Oh, my God.
Boom, went the ring light.
When was that?
Back in the Nick Goulas days, early 70s. Nobody was in the ring yet, but it was only by about 10 or 12 minutes.
Did you ever get to see someone kick out a light bulb on a backdrop?
Actually, I'm trying to think if I'm early on, probably in a place in Arkansas or some small spot show in the Memphis territory. I remember a guy kicking the fucking apparatus that the ring lights were, and I can't remember who it was. And I think Ricky Gibson used to get some of them on the southern end of the territory with his backdrops because his feet went straight up. But the Sputnik Monroe backdrop contest was a work because after Sputnik bet the rest of the locker room in Shreveport that night that none of them could kick the ring lights, he was in the main event. And that was the old Shreveport Memorial Auditorium. There was a stagehand there. He went and gave the guy $20 to fucking during intermission for his match, lower the fucking deal like 3 or 4 feet. He went out there and kicked it on the first try and won everybody's money.
Well, will they be getting your money? One last chance here. Will we?
No, I don't know. I'm not convinced. I may keep my money. I may not fucking give them my. You know what I may do with my money, Brian? I may put my money in my brand new Ridge wallet. That's what I may do with my money. Because that way it's going to be safe. And that way also they can't pull any of this electronic space age technology mumbo jumbo on me and try to penetrate and orchestrate into my wallet and get all of my information like thieves in the night with these electronic means, because the Ridge wallets also have RFID blocking technology. That means rotten fucking individuals and they're blocking those.
That's not what that means. I don't know where you came up with that.
RFID blocking technology, because they can't, there's a thing called a digital pickpocketer where they have this electronic wand. It looks something like a vibrator you used to buy over at Hot Topic, or maybe it's Spencer's Gifts back in the day. But what it's got is it's got a fidget in the top of it that automatically, electronically, magnetically steals all your credit card information as soon as they stick this thing in the vicinity of your ass. That's why that there's been a rash of people walking down the street lately just taking this thing that looks like a vibrator from Spencer's Gifts and sticking it in the vicinity of people's asses, because they're drawing magnetically their credit card information out of their wallets that most people carry in the vicinity of their asses. Brian, don't you know this?
I don't know what you're saying, but I think what we could say is your information and your cards will be safe with Ridge. That's what we can say.
Well, yes, because we've talked about the Ridge Power Bank, where you can plug it. You can plug your phones in. You can plug your laptop in. You can plug all your devices in. You can, jumpstart your goddamn vibrators. But Ridge made their name and made themselves famous by making the most secure and sturdy and long-lasting wallet in the world. The unique, slim, modern design holds up to 12 credit cards or ID cards or whatever, cards of various natures, plus cash, if you've got any. It's made with premium materials like aluminum, titanium, carbon fiber. Not like most of the wallets these days that are made out of recycled animal dreck from many swamps in the Everglades. And there's over 50 plus colors and styles to choose from, because all Ridge products have a lifetime warranty. If you get a red wallet and it ever turns green, you'll get your money back on that son of a bitch. And again, they have that blocking technology so people can't take that object and shove it up your ass and get all your information. I'll tell you what, if there's any financial transactions involving shit going up your ass, it's going to be you paying cash like the old days.
Can we somehow get back to the main topic here, which is a wallet I've come to love, and we think the listeners have, we know a lot have, we've heard from them already, the great Ridge wallet.
Yes, and losing your wallet is a horrible thing too, but with the Ridge tracker card, you're always going to know exactly where it is, because you can just track that in the tracker mode. And that way, here's another thing. Let's say, for example, that you have a feeling that your spouse is running around. Get them a Ridge wallet and sign up for the tracker mode, and then they got a beeper in their pocket. You can keep track of them. And on the special screen, that it looks like a kind of a Pac-Man type of device. You can see Ms. Pac-Man going to meet her boyfriend. And then when they're having sex, that means she's gobbling up.
Okay,
the little. And that way you know it's like there. your own private detective in the pocket.
Jim, there's a lot of things that the sponsors don't want. Video game pornography may be on top of the list, but let's get back to, and let's let everyone know about a great deal for a great wallet that, again, I love and I use, and we think the listeners will love it and use it as well.
You don't have to scream at me about it. We all love it.
I'm trying to get us back on the tracks.
And also, yeah, that Miss Pac-Man was always a whore.
Will you
but
stop?
Besides that, the Ridge wallet is secure. It's got free shipping. It's got a 99-day risk-free trial, a lifetime warranty. And they also create premium everyday carry essentials like the power bank and the key cases and suitcases and suit rings or rings, suitcases and rings. I guess there is no thing like a suit ring. They have a ring. Give them a ring. They're all built with the same sleek, durable design. Ridge, and for a limited time right now, our listeners on this wallet I've been talking about, and it also doubles as an Oriental fighting star if you sharpen the corners.
It doesn't and don't.
Our listeners will get 10% off at Ridge by using the code JCE over there at checkout. Once again, Ridge, R-I-D-G-E, Ridge.com. Just go there and use the code JCE at checkout, 10% off. You're all set. Tell them you heard about them here. They love to hear the feedback from the cult of Cornette, and it'll save you money on the most durable, secure. This is like just sticking your whole ass area in Fort Knox or in some kind of safe. But when they close the door, it doesn't pinch your ass cheeks. And you can still have your head out in public to breathe. But your money is locked up tight in your ass, unless you happen to carry your wallet in your hat.
All right,
there's nothing wrong with that, except you look kind of stupid wearing a hat these days.
Jim, there's a great deal and a great promo code. Let's do it.
JCE at Ridge.com. All righty. Well, speaking of people's wallets, Brian, everybody ought to be reaching into theirs right now because you know what's going on. We are in that odd timing phase where we are recording this immediately before the ring-worn merchandise goes on sale at JimCornette.com that we've been talking about for the past few weeks. So I can't give you an update, even though you're not going to hear about this until afterwards. But I would suggest just go to JimCornette.com and click on collectibles I've cleaned the closet out. Besides the jackets and the shirts and the pants, I don't dress up too much anymore, Brian. Now that I used to be a man of the road, a hobo by name. I didn't seek entertainment, just poultry and game. That's somebody else that could kick the shit out of Speedball Bailey is fucking Leo Sayer. But anyway.
Oh, come on, now you're pushing it.
No, I think he gouged the eye. He gouged the eye.
They are the same size, funny enough.
They are the same size, yes. But Sayer's hair was more entertaining. Nevertheless, I don't need the suits and the jackets and things like I used to because I'm not on the road anymore, as well as the last remaining few rackets and my Hall of Fame 2017 WWF Hall of Fame inductor shoes and a variety of eyeglasses. You can see the world through my eyes finally. I'm hammering on the desk again, aren't I? See, because I'm a very animated son of a bitch.
Gene Krupa Cornette.
There you go. Well, at least I'm not Buddy Rich, that prick. But nevertheless.
Big teeth.
So if you go to JimCornette.com right now, you'll see what remains of these things. And like I said, a couple of sets of eyeglasses. All of my eyeglasses, I've now realized when I laid them out all together, the ones that I've had, I never changed the frames but one time. Otherwise, I've had the exact same looking glasses for 40 years. Have you noticed this, or have you ever paid any? Have you just stared at my face ever?
Not to this extent, but I mean, now that I think about it, I can't imagine you. I mean, I think maybe a couple times I saw you in sunglasses on TV, but
yeah, like gimmick glasses is different. But I mean, actually, for me to be able to see.
Why don't you change it up? Why don't you go for like the John Lennon look?
No, Stacy had me get a pair one time. The frame, the frames around the lenses were like much smaller than the ones that I've always had, always. And I got them as a second pair, and I put those things on twice. I could see all the way around them, and it put me off so bad. I don't even know where they are now. I may have tossed them. I fucking hated it. She said, "Well, they look good on you." I said, "But I can't. No, I can't. I need to see." But one time I changed the incident happened in 1985. So I would assume that I got them in probably late 84 because I didn't have them long. But I've always got same frames, like I said. But this time I was getting new glasses and I saw these and they looked cool. They had the frame on the top of the glasses, right, to the earpieces. And then you could see no frame. It was just like the lens had no bottom on it. And it looked cool to me at the time. I didn't think it through properly. There was a little fishing line that went around, a little nylon or plastic cord, whatever the cord was, in a groove in the lens. And it just went right to the nose piece there and boom. So it was a nice look, right? I got these fucking things. And I didn't have they were in Dallas. I got them in Dallas. The fancy Dan. I'm a young man about town in Dallas, right? I'm gonna get different glasses. That's what it was. Because I didn't have these things 3 months probably until the first time we went to St. Louis, where we got booked out to do that thing from Dallas. I'm standing there in the Kiel Auditorium and bang! One of those things popped and my lens just fell in the floor. And I'm like, what the fuck? And now I'd fixed them before where if the frame got loose, you could tighten the little screw, right? But how the fuck, I don't have any fishing line. What am I going to do? I'm blind, right? And I'm thinking, how the fuck am I going to get home? Because once that, out at the ring is one thing, but actually to function in daily society, I can't fucking see. And guess who came to my rescue, Brian? A St. Louis wrestling personality.
Personality in Dallas?
No, remember, I was in Dallas, but we got booked into St. Louis. It's the first time I'm at Kiel Auditorium. So it's a St. Louis wrestling personality.
Who else wore the same glasses as you? Harry White.
No.
Oh, really?
You are incorrect. Linda Rufa.
Oh, Linda Rufa.
Linda Rufa, the lovely ringside photographer in St. Louis, that her stuff was published in the Japanese magazines and Apter used her. And she went everywhere. If you see any footage from the 80s and 90s with a good-looking woman shooting photos and you're like, where did that come from? That's Linda Rufa. She was an anomaly in the wrestling business because all of the other photographers were ugly male individuals like me and Heyman and fucking Apter and everybody else. And she was not only a female photographer, but she looked like a cross between a female Mick Jagger and Steve Perry, kind of like. It was amazing. It all worked. She was just gorgeous. I don't know, not now, but when they were young.
Steven Tyler.
I'm sorry, not Steve Perry. Steven Tyler and Mick Jagger type, but she was gorgeous. And she had some type of fake fingernail glue. And she said, oh, let me see. And she stuck the lens in there and put the plastic thing around it and put this fingernail glue on it. And it got me back to Dallas so I could go get a proper pair of fucking glasses again. And that's the only time I've ever changed my glasses in. So the difference in the ones on sale is basically the amount of green from where my sweat had turned the goddamn finish green around the edges. That's the only difference.
Linda Rufa.
Hey, boy, she turned me green around the edges every once in a while, too.
Still hiding from Dr. Mike Lano, I assume.
Speaking of being green around the edges, good Lord. Whatever happened to Linda Rufa? She hasn't been to the fan fest that, or the reunions or things and such in modern times that I've seen.
No, she hasn't. I mean, I don't know. Respectfully, I don't know if anyone. I mean, maybe actually, if you built it up, I was going to say, I don't know who would want her autograph, but maybe actually.
Well, I don't mean to come as, to just, I've seen a lot of photographers and miscellaneous ringside personnel come to Fan Fest without having to be the center of attention and being paid to sign autographs, but you never see or hear from Linda Rufa these days.
Maybe she's hiding from Dr. Mike Lano.
She may be hiding from the whole goddamn wrestling business, which we may have to also hide from the whole goddamn business. I picked the wrong week to quit AEW, didn't I?
You know, WWE is not doing themselves any favors. Before we get to SmackDown, I mean, this is your show. We can do whatever you want.
Well, I'm open to suggestions.
Have you heard the news about, I mean, it's not a big deal, but they announced John Cena will be the host of WrestleMania this year. John Cena, who just went away, who hasn't had enough time to go away.
He hadn't even got there or where he was going yet. He's back.
What do you think about the idea that he'd be hosting WrestleMania this year? And is anyone going to buy a ticket for that reason?
No, really, nobody's going to buy a ticket right now except people that are pretty goddamn close to Las Vegas. They are not. They are suffering the chickens coming home to roost of some of the weird decisions they've made in a variety of places over the last year. And one of them is going back to the same goddamn place, whether Las Vegas is a big deal to them or not. And I'm talking about the TKO Brain Trust and all of the top muckety mucks. It's in the middle of the fucking desert, and you just were there last year. And you combine that with people having to mortgage their children and their gold fillings to buy a ticket to see this crap. And then you combine that with, I don't know that the wrestling fans want to see 18 goddamn celebrities in the ring and on the TV shows on a daily basis. And then you combine that with what the fuck are they thinking just on the entire booking of the blah, blah, blah. And then you add that they're snake bit on people being injured and or out of commission in the key building periods. And so now they're doing everything they can do to sell these tickets. And there's nothing wrong with, I'm about to answer your question, there's nothing wrong with John Cena being the host of WrestleMania, but you've fired another warning shot in the air and you're running out of bullets when the fucking invaders are coming up the drive. It's not going to help. And you could have saved it for something else because he just fucking left.
He just left. And that's the thing. This whole concept of the host of WrestleMania is one of the stupid Vince McMahon ideas during the years of desperation. I think The Rock may have been like the first, or one of the first, like, hosts of WrestleMania to get him out there. So what's Cena going to do? Mere months after retiring, to incredible fanfare, he's just going to come out dressed like John Cena and run to the ring and do a promo for 15 minutes to start the show? Or have a funny interaction with Steve Austin or Danhausen or whatever it may be? It's desperation, and it's not a good idea. I did want to mention to you, independent of WWE and WWE ticket prices, let alone WrestleMania prices, I read an article in the New York Times the other day. I'll just read you the headline. A downturn in Las Vegas could signal tough times for the nation.
Oh, I forgot to mention the whole Las Vegas thing falling in a hole, so go ahead.
The high rollers may still be crowding the tables, but high prices and pinched discretionary incomes are driving a sharp drop-off in visitors to Las Vegas as Nevada's governor runs for re-election. So, WrestleMania aside, Vegas itself is struggling right now more than it has at least 20 years, maybe longer.
And what country also, since we're piling this on and all these different reasons why they should have gone to goddamn New Orleans or whatever, what country does the WWE have more fans in than anywhere except the United States, off the top of your head?
I would say Canada off the top of my head, but I don't know.
Guess who don't want to go to goddamn the United States? Canadians.
Yeah, Big drop off in tourism from Canada. That's right.
I think that they said 20% in Vegas, or was that 20% nationwide, that Canadian tourism is down because of Schittler and the things he said about them. And then you combine that now with nobody ain't going to Las Vegas as we sit here for shows 2 weeks away, when once again Schittler has started a war to distract from his other discretions, and gasoline is over $4 a gallon for no fucking apparent reason except that. And the airlines are charging surcharge and blah, blah, blah. Who's going to say, I'm going to go to Las Vegas?
Do you want to fly anywhere? I mean, I know you don't want to fly in general, but yes, right now, I don't want to get anywhere near an airport.
Well, yes, because also then you have to invest 6 hours of standing in a line in the major airports because of Schittler. I mean, could I go on? Do you think they should call him and say, hey, dipshit, now you're hurting our business and we're your maggot friends? But it's all, I mean, it's a miracle that they have as many tickets sold as they've got, with all of the shitty creative and the shitty conditions and the repetitious nature of the goddamn Las Vegas and
the lineup
everything we just
and the
said.
actual matches that they've apparently been building up. Other than Brock and Oba, nothing has that level of buzz. Punk and Roman's all right, but even that...
Punk and Roman is pretty strong based on the promos. People want to see that. Oba and Brock, I think, has the most shivers. But Orton and Rhodes, that they have saved all this time, that should be overshadowing everything based on the mentor-pupil relationship, the families. How many videotapes do they have of Cody's father kicking a shit out of Randy's father? And I mean,
I don't know. Actually, I don't know if there would be that many. Now that I think
Florida,
about it,
they got Florida fucking. They got the Florida library.
But how often would Dusty and Bob Orton Jr.? I don't know. That's actually a great question.
Dusty would have kicked the shit out of Bob Orton Jr. a number of times in the late 70s in Florida. But point being, the story they could tell for 15 fucking years and the whole 9 yards is and there's more than one royal family in professional wrestling. Is it named McAfee?
Well, we'll get to SmackDown in a moment.
I know we're going to get to it, but point I'm making is that they've just made Cody and Orton less attractive to a lot of people.
I think that's one of the big things you've seen from everyone, and I guess this has turned less about John Cena hosting Mania, just about the build of WrestleMania. Everyone kind of agrees it was a natural storyline that was there. It didn't have to be, and it shouldn't have been complicated. It was a very simple thing.
For months or maybe over a year, I've been saying whenever they get to Cody and Orton.
That's right.
And they've got to it, and somebody else got to it. So they're lucky they've got what they've sold for WrestleMania, and they ought to just fucking end. I can't imagine that they are not trying to figure out a backup plan for next year, and they better not go back to Las Vegas.
I don't think they can, and I don't know if they're going to be able to go to Saudi Arabia if things don't rapidly improve in the Middle East. So there may be another story next year about WrestleMania.
But if things don't rapidly improve in the middle, I don't care if everything calms down by July. Would you, as a famous American, a television star in America, want to attend a highly publicized event or be a part of a highly publicized event in a major stadium anywhere close to goddamn Iran for quite some time to come?
And they actually got a missile into Riyadh, I believe, or close by not too long ago. So, I wouldn't. I would have a problem realistically right now being a major star doing a stadium show anywhere. And that's just my nerves because of what's going on. But no way I'm doing it over there. And I don't know if there could be a mutiny. And enough people could say we're not doing it. But WWE is going to have to deal with that issue very soon because if you do move WrestleMania, where are you going to bring it? You can't go back to Vegas a third year. There's no way. No way.
But they better call New Orleans or whatever. Because again, I'm sorry, but fuck you. I don't care how much money I'm making at any job. We have just pissed off the most fanatical, revenge-wanting son of a bitches on the planet by just bombing the fuck out of them and killing half of their goddamn main religious fanatics, and they're probably going to want to get even for about 100 more years to come. Those things last over there quite a while, those Middle East grudges. Brian, you've read about them in the papers.
100 years would be a short one.
Yeah, that would be just a quick one, in and out, like the fucking... So anyway.
That is the build of WrestleMania. Why don't we get to WWE Smackdown, an interesting edition coming off a Raw, which had a lot of big moments, although some that were questionable, like the Cody Stephanie segment. And this was one of the more astounding episodes of SmackDown I've ever seen. And if I was someone really into WWE, I'd be very worried right now about the creative decisions that are being made.
Well, it was an outstanding episode, as they used to say. It should have been outstanding in the highway, waiting for a car to run over it. I don't know what the fuck they're doing, but like I said earlier, I picked a poor week to quit watching AEW because honestly, we would have made the same decision maybe, and I still may be open to it. Maybe they'll just never do this again. But this was Russo-rific in tone. This was one of the more trivial observations I had for the SmackDown on April 3rd, Tornado Day. It was a big bag of wind. Is it mandatory for all the talent to walk in, hold a cup of coffee, and roll in their fucking suitcase? These are the most caffeinated motherfuckers.
Why doesn't anyone put their hand up like they're blocking the camera, like they don't want to be seen, or turn around? Like, why doesn't anyone play it up, like, instead of just, yeah, I'll walk in and let you film me?
Well, they're animated, and they're having this conversation, and they've got their cups, and they should have shot us when we walked in the goddamn building about 40 years ago. They didn't have suitcases with wheels. I had shit hanging over my shoulders, carrying those goddamn heavy Nikita Molkovich tag team belts. And the boys were all fucking straggle-haired and been in the car for 5 hours and were limping into a goddamn place, sweating like whores in churches. Anyhow, so they recapped the thing with Cody and Stephanie on Raw where she emasculated him and he thanked her for it and the people booed him. And then here comes Randy Orton in St. Louis, 11,620 people in his hometown. Big pop, Randy. And this was close to a Roman Reigns because it was about 4 minutes until he spoke. St. Louis, what do you want to talk about? And the one thing about this is Orton has been speaking brilliantly. He's fucking great because he's just being Randy Orton. He said, this is my hometown. I still call it home. And the next time you see me, I've got number 15 around my waist. Yay, baby, but I'm not doing it for you. I'm doing it for me. And that was great. Then now he's being a heel kind of like, right? And I'm doing it for my family.
They pop for, I'm doing it for me. They pop for that too.
Well, they pop for that, but I thought he's good for me, for my family. I'm thinking he's going to get a little greedy here. He said, my real home. But then he says the 6 people in the front row and they're in the front, they shoot him is his wife and kids. What a fucking heel. They're darling little children. And I get he's a prolific son of a gun. And so then he says Cody Rhodes is going to go home empty-handed after WrestleMania, and they cheer it. And again, I even said last show, I think we were talking about this, I think they knew they were going to cheer Randy and probably boo Cody just because they want the WrestleMania. The fans want the WrestleMania moment. They want to see the title change, or they just Randy's the fucking darling, the icon. Cody is be the icon in 5 years, 10 years, whatever. So they weren't worried about that because it was a money match. They should have been more worried about people thinking that the whole thing was stupid and didn't make sense and wasn't what they wanted to see, rather than whether somebody was going to get cheered or not. Because again, Randy here at this point, he's still being Randy Orton. It's not personal. Cody said I could be the Viper. He said I could listen to the voices. Stephanie told him that he can't beat me. And I mean, he really did a fired up promo. He meant it. He felt it. And then Cody's music plays and he comes out in a suit with the belt and everything, but he drops the belt. He takes off the jacket and tie and gets in, and boy, and they have a fight. And Cody takes over in the corner and starts kicking a shit out of Orton. And the place starts booing him. But then he had to kick shit out of him for a while in the corner because McAfee, Pat McAfee, was coming in the ring from the other side. And as Cody turns and sees him, he's like, well, what are you doing here? McAfee kicks him in the balls. And he's wearing an RKO shirt. And he starts kicking Cody. And the fans at first were kind of booing, but they were kind of confused booing. They were not mad booing, they were confused booing. Like, what's happening here? We don't know. And then for the next 5 minutes or whatever, they just made Cody look like a complete idiot, made their company look completely, the authority figure of the SmackDown look completely ineffective, pissed people off in the wrong way about this whole thing, and slander their own product. Before I go into the way they did all these things, Brian, do you have any comments to make so far?
I don't even know what I could add so far. This was one of the worst segments, most counterproductive segments I've ever seen. It was astounding in getting everything wrong. Randy's the babyface. When Cody came out there and started punching him, it reminded me of Cody and Malachi in AEW. White suit versus black suit. And all of a sudden, right away, Cody wasn't cool at all. All the fans went with Malachi. Even though Cody's the traditional babyface. Cody has not been booked well. The segment on Monday with Stephanie was awful. Again, even if it leads to a heel turn. And at this point, with this angle, we could discuss whether that could even happen. But that angle did nothing to help anyone get excited for this match, did nothing to help Cody not look like a pussy. And then this, McAfee gets in there, didn't get a really big reaction, didn't seem like people wanted this. I'm not a McAfee fan. I was at the barbershop recently and his show was on. Nobody in that shop was a McAfee fan. Nobody likes softball talk. But he was best used as a babyface. Whatever you want to say about him.
He has enthusiasm.
His energy.
He has a
Yes.
love and an energy for the product, and as
And
a
the
baby
fans
face and
liked
a rah-rah guy.
And
boom.
WWE fans like that. Him standing on his desk doing the Uso shit. Again, not for me, but that's the best usage of him. All of a sudden now, he turns heel to no reaction, and he gives a promo which on its face is a bad idea. Saying everything is awful on the show out of nowhere. He hasn't even been on the show in forever. He's the guy Randy Orton was talking to on the phone, and he says the show's awful. The ratings are the worst it's ever been. Apparently, he wasn't even talking TV ratings. He was talking cage match. Like the ratings for the show.
What?
That apparently,
Oh,
that's what someone told me. It was about the fan ratings of SmackDown. And then he brings up the Attitude Era. I mean,
well, but
you know, when you did your stuff in the 90s talking about how much better things were in the past, that was for like 10 years earlier. Things were better 10 years ago.
Well, if you noticed, even when I did that, I didn't ever say things used to be better. I pointed out the things that were not good. And it seems that the wrestling fans would like the traditional things instead of the thing like this and that and the other thing. And I say now, but again, They're talking 25 years, but we're getting ahead of ourselves.
The Attitude Era.
Think about,
neither of them were there for the Attitude Era.
exactly. But think about, McAfee was a fan and Orton was a teenager. But think about, meanwhile, they're doing all these things that we're going to mention they're doing. What is Cody doing? He kicked him in the balls, or they kicked him in the balls, right? Pat did. And then every once in a while, Randy grabbed a chair and would hit him as McAfee is starting to cut this promo and defaming the St. Louis sports teams. And Aldis and the officials, 3 or 4 of them come out, but they just stand on the floor.
Yeah, stand there.
They don't even reach in to pull Cody out. Cody's writhing there, and Orton will go over and choke him with a chair, or he'll whack him again, or he'll kick him. But Cody's just laying there, and nobody's even bothering to try to physically intervene with 2 guys, for fuck's sake. In a company where we know they got 20 security guards on call for anything. But point being, then the promo. That's the thing that they were burying Cody visually in front of the entire arena by just keeping him immobile and ineffectual. While McAfee said the WWE product has been shit, and they bleeped it, and the business is going wrong, and he did Austin and Rock impressions. And he said he was sick of having to watch 2 5'5" guys do 45-minute Iron Man matches 10 weeks in a row while Randy Orton is here. Then he's been watching the wrong television show.
Where was that? What show was that on?
That's over on Dynamite. He mixed them up. And he turns on Netflix and he sees all of the gorilla position circle jerking while Randy Orton is around. And the people are cheering these points he's making. But then he says he goes too far with it. And then he says, why are WrestleMania tickets still available? I got him. SmackDown's having its worst ratings ever. They don't really care at this point now. But Orton would continue to beat up Cody, but not like continuously, like pummeling him, but every once in a while, boom. While Aldis and the agent stood on the floor and McAfee was telling everybody that the business that Cody led was terrible and Randy Orton was going to save the fucking business. And they bleeped fucking, but he wouldn't have said fucking if some high muckety muck hadn't said say fuck. So they really thought this was going to get over enough to bring out all the tools in the toolkit. And then McAfee admitted he was on the phone with Randy, and then both of the heels left as the fans were chanting, Randy, Randy. And then Aldis and the 4 other ex-wrestler grown adult men get in the ring and sit Cody up, and the people start booing him. And boo. Again, Orton and Cody, and they've got 20 years of history from the time that Cody broke in, and the family history of the fathers on opposite sides of many great confrontations, and the history they've got in the WWE alone is the mentor pupil, and Orton preceded Cody in OVW. They've got all kinds of footage of Pat McAfee is in this somehow. What the fuck? Why would Randy Orton listen to Pat McAfee's advice on the phone unless Orton was trying to fucking bet on a football game? Orton's a 15-time world champion. McAfee's had 5 matches. Whatever how many ways does this not make any sense, Brian?
It doesn't make any sense in any way if you try to figure it out. That's part of the problem. It could have been anyone with a wrestling last name. I think everyone feels kind of deflated that it's Pat McAfee. Nobody's like, oh man, big heel run for Pat McAfee. No one wants this right now. The feud was there. The match was there. They've overcomplicated everything for no reason other than they like to jam-pack celebrities into everything. This is a week off Jelly Roll being in almost every segment on SmackDown. And I'm not going to say anything bad about Lil Yachty. He was one of the highlights of this episode, to be quite honest with you. But beyond any of this, too much celebrities that mean something to Ari Emanuel and don't mean something to wrestling fans. Pat McAfee has in the past, but this ain't it. And again, coming out here, doing the bad impression, like it wasn't a good promo. The messaging behind it was bad. Imagine in the mid-90s if Conan O'Brien showed up and said, things were better when New York wrestling wasn't televised. Like, it just doesn't make any fucking sense to say, let's go back to the Attitude Era. That was before Randy Orton was even a wrestler. That's how long ago it is. This whole show is bad. This opening segment, this is 2 straight Cody Rhodes opening segments that do nothing but hurt Cody Rhodes, even if they turn him heel. And how do you turn him heel after this? Even though Randy got cheered, he was the heel here. They started putting down St. Louis.
Yeah.
Their creative is lost at sea, and there's nothing bringing it back right now. Because what are the other options? Brian Gewirtz comes in and saves it? Oh, that ain't happening. He couldn't save shit.
Wait, they didn't even need The Rock this year to fuck up WrestleMania. They did it themselves.
This is extraordinary.
But it's such, they're talking to smart fans. It's like a Vince Russo or a Tony Khan. We got to talk to the smart fans about or just talk to the excommunicated Attitude Era fans that it was better. Anything was better than this. Practically, it was certainly more real, not so fake and silly and boring. But to come out and are they doing a Burger King? Is this the Burger King? We're shit. Yeah, we fucked up.
You have to be a babyface to do that. The CEO of Burger King's a babyface in that spot. The heel is the king that they fired.
That's true. Then they're, oh my God. The people are cheering the bad guys for saying that the product sucks because it does. And they're reminding of it. Okay.
And I'm not the biggest Randy Orton fan, but I agree with what you said earlier too. He's doing some of the best promos he's done. He doesn't need a mouthpiece. Why would you do this for him now? They have muddied up this whole build. They've muddied up the story. They have destroyed Cody Rhodes. Almost every single thing in creative has been a long-term miss since the John Cena comeback. And it's kind of crazy. And we'll talk about Danhausen, I'm sure. Even the Danhausen stuff to me is starting to wear off quick. And there's a lot of bad stuff that is completely at fault of the creative team and specifically Paul Levesque, who's in charge of it. You can have all these girls that he hires to write wrestling TV. If he approves it, it's his responsibility. And the TV's awful. And it doesn't seem like it's just hardcore fans saying it. It seems like it's a lot of WWE fans are getting frustrated because when you see a layup and someone's like, I'm going to instead run around the basketball court a few times and shoot it from the middle. You're like, why? You could have just gone up there and gotten the 2 points. And WWE right now is missing all the 2-point shots because they're going for the half-court shots. They're just missing left and right.
They're getting too cute. 1 or 2 brief segments of Cheetah in the Tarzan movie was fine. Nobody wanted to see Cheetah star in the movie and save Tarzan, who was in a cameo. And they have ha-ha'd this thing up bad. Possibly because, again, besides Triple H, a lot of these other people, Nick Khan's and Ari Emanuel's and all these other people, they may have plenty of years experience in business, but they don't have all the experience in the business. And I mean, is this Triple H suddenly, or is this now he's got to have a quota of fucking celebrities? I don't know, whatever the fuck.
And by the way, fuck WWE Unreal. Because I almost feel like some of this is done more for that show than it is for this show. They're happy they got an Emmy nomination. But none of this is working out well here on SmackDown or Raw, and we're right before WrestleMania, and this is just terrible stuff.
Well, you know what it is, Brian? I'll tell you what it is. It's hard to fucking swallow. It's just hard to swallow this type of stuff. And I mean, you can chew it, and you can try to wash it down with a cold beverage, but it just tastes like caca. But I'll tell you something that isn't hard to swallow, and I bet you're going to guess what I'm saying here. Our friends at Factor are easy to swallow. A lot of times you don't even have to chew it. Just shove it down your neck. It's so tender, it'll just dissolve in your throat glands on the way down, because the folks at Factor have taken into account that a lot of people either may not have the time or the energy, since everybody has to work the hurry-scurry lifestyle that we have today in today's modern environment, and with the constant threats of chaos coming at us from every single direction. Well, hell, maybe we just want somebody else to cook for us. Brian, did you ever feel that way? I know you like to prepare your 5-star meals from scratch in your own French kitchen, but every once in a while, you just want somebody else to do the work.
Yeah, I'd love to be able to do that. I don't have the time. I don't have the time at all to do that and do it right. So I would love for someone to give me something, let's just say, was crafted by a chef.
Well, I know exactly where you can go. You already know where you can go. I'll tell you where you can go again, but you've been there. Because Factor has meals built around your goals, ladies and gentlemen, whether it's weight loss, overall nutrition, more protein, GLP-1 support, Factor's Muscle Pro collection for strength and workout recovery, or just for convenience, because every meal is crafted with functional ingredients like lean proteins and colorful veggies. Some of them are striped like zebras. Some of them are blue. Some of them are even fluorescent. That's the special crossing guard box.
That's not one of the things they offer. Again, let's not offer models or meals that they don't have.
Hey, well, there's globally inspired... Lady, there's globally inspired flavors like Mediterranean and Asian and Zimbabwean and from the Isle of Man, the entire cuisine. There's over 100 rotating weekly meals and the newly launched ready-to-eat salads with vibrant ingredients like elote corn and miso edamame. Edamame, my mommy? It's some type of miso with elote corn. I've been a country boy for years. I've just shucked corn. I've never actually seen the elote corn. Is that just a misprint and it's elite corn? Nevertheless, there's 70 plus add-ons to round out your nutrition, from green juices to peanut butter energy bites. They're good, and they're ready in 2 minutes. They shop, they prep, they cook, they deliver straight to your door in a cooled box, and you just pop it in. Nutrient-dense food. So this is some of the thickest food, thick with nutrients. I mean, you could use some of this stuff as a saddle. It's so thick with nutrients. And all you got to do right now is go to factormeals.com/JCE50 off. That's your code to get 50% off and free daily greens per box with new subscriptions only while supplies last. But free daily greens, Brian. I mean, there are different shades of green. You've got a Kermit green. You've got a St. Patrick's Day green. And they just go out right in front of their own factory, and they just whack some shit out of the yard and put it right in your box, and they charge you nothing.
Once again, Factor meals are delicious. I love them. I suggest the teriyaki salmon. That's my personal favorite.
I'm telling you, the creamy Parmesan shrimp fillet.
Very popular here at Last Man, or very popular at Castle Cornette. We are sure they will be very popular meals in your household. Jim, we have a great deal. And of course, the listeners can go to the link you're about to give them to see the actual meals they can get from Factor.
Yes, they'll tell you what. It's not like some of these food services where they just send you things labeled food. No, you go to factormeals.com and use that code JCE50 off to get 50% off and free daily greens per box. And they'll actually tell you what they have so you can pick it rather than them. And they're not like your mother. Just you eat this and like it. You actually get to choose what you would like to eat and consume, and then they will send you same. It's amazing.
Amazing, great meals crafted by a chef. Factor, Jim. One more time, that promo code and that link that the listeners can use this link, Jim, for 50% off and free daily greens.
Yes, factormeals.com/JCE50 off.
That's right. Speak in tongues and enjoy a great meal. Factor.
And well, that comes from you've been overindulging in the teriyaki salmon. Okay, then we had Rhea Ripley against Mia Yim, and we had Uncle Howdy against a Tongan of some description.
Did you follow any of that? That was one, again, I paid maybe too much attention to some of this stuff knowing you wouldn't watch it, but the endless Wyatts versus Tongans feud, or solo feud, over the lantern. And then Tama Tonga and Solo started fighting over returning the lantern. This was some of the worst stuff I've ever seen.
Well, that's why I didn't see it, see? But I'm just assuming that everybody knows that anything involving these two entities, the Tongans and the Howdians, is rot. Rot. Effluvia. I like words like that it kind of convey the despicable and repugnant nature of something. Well, then we got to 9 o'clock. Trick Williams was in the ring with his friend Little Yachty. Now, is Little Yachty as a person that you have heard of before, that you know or aware of as a celebrity of some description?
I know of him because he's been on wrestling before. And we've had this discussion about him. And I'll say it here. The amount of celebrities and the lack of meaningful payoff to their involvement has become a problem. I enjoyed the shit out of Lil Yachty in this segment. He was perfect with Trick here. Those two together was great.
This is the thing. I don't care if he's a celebrity. If he's within their budget, this is part of Trick's gimmick. They worked perfectly together. He was like just doing the little fucking, tell him, while Trick was doing his promo, and they had obviously, not only did they work something out, obviously they didn't just do that off the top of their head, but they have chemistry. It wasn't like shit. It was good. They worked well together. They've trained anybody. If they trained that fat fucking jelly roll fucking to wrestle, they ought to train this fucking guy to be the manager and make them a team. I think they're fucking great together because it accentuated Trick as a star to have his backup guy there.
I thought it was great. And again, here's Trick Williams, another guy. I think he's technically a heel. Who's going to boo him?
Nobody. But I think they're taking advantage of that because they're turning Sammy heel, or again, now either one of these may be true. They're turning Sammy heel or they're insane, but we've already established they're insane. But Sami Zayn is turning heel, or there's no other explanation. So they might as well do that here because they're cheering Trick to begin with. So, and then Carmelo Hayes is just stuck in there for reasons I have no idea. I would rather see just Sammy and Trick, but Hayes gets in the way. But maybe they beat him and got rid of him now. But nevertheless, Trick and Little Yachty were great together doing this fucking tag team promo and said, we're not going to take any lip off a gingerbread man. And then, of course, obviously, Sammy comes out and the people are picking up on that whatever. Hopefully this has been intentional because there's been a subtle shift in Sammy's attitude, the way he's been presented, the way he's talking, this whole backstage thing where he was trying to give various pep talks to Orton and Cody, and things just kept coming out wrong. So anyway, Sammy did the promo. Pageantry's never been my thing, but all of this, none of this is going to help you. I'm going to humble your ass at WrestleMania. And then the fans start chanting, whoop that trick, whoop that trick. And Trick's gripe, obviously, is that Sammy is, or he's the reason that Sammy's the champion to begin with, after what they did with Carmelo. And of course, here comes Carmelo, and he's mad at both, and he's getting in the way, and they had this going. But then I was just going to say, even Hayes got cheered at some points over Sammy. Go ahead.
I was going to say the fans reacted really well to Carmelo, and when Carmelo said something that, in a way, you would think if there was ever a time for them to boo him, it's this comment. When he said he carried SmackDown for whatever period of time it was, months, they cheered. The fans were actually behind him. And I agree with you. Sammy has to turn heel after all this because I don't think he's getting cheered for a while.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing is that even now Carmelo is getting cheered for being a braggadocious little prick, because they're turning on Sammy here. They realize what's going on. So basically, this thing continued, though. That's the only thing is, without Trick and Yachty, it got a little long-winded. Trick was even looking at his watch, like Jesus Christ. And Trick has said, yeah, give Carmelo his rematch that he wants. Go ahead. And Sammy was a little long-winded there, but okay, I'll give it to you tonight. And then Trick said, well, that took forever. You could have saved us 5 minutes, which was true. And then Sammy clotheslined him over the top rope, and the people booed Sammy for clotheslining him over the top rope. So I feel like it's deja vu all over again. Remember just a few weeks back, Brian, when I was saying, boy, this is the most popular bunch of heels I've ever seen and the most unpopular baby faces I've ever seen. And I was talking about AEW. Now this is the most popular bunch of heels I've ever seen and the most unpopular bunch of baby faces I've ever seen in the WWE.
Yeah, AEW's baby faces are weak, but their fans cheer them. And the fans boo the heels. Here, the heels are the baby faces now. And by the way, they should be. Randy Orton's cooler than Cody. He's been booked better. Trick Williams is as cool as it gets right now. So, I mean, it's an interesting dynamic where, I hate to say it because they brought it up earlier, it's almost Attitude Era-esque, where the heels are the baby faces and the baby faces are the heels.
Except the Attitude Era didn't have this many quasi-celebrities actually having wrestling matches.
Yeah.
And things. Okay, continuing on with SmackDown, we had Cardona wrestled Malachi Black. That was where all the lights went out. Did you notice that? Because since there was two black holes of charisma in the ring together, they sucked all the light into themselves and you could see nothing for like 10 minutes. And then they did tons of backstage bullshit. And then they had Charlotte and Alexa against Bayley and Lyric. And we were past 10 o'clock. We're 2 hours in with what we've just talked about. And in the back, this begins a whole sordid thing, Brian. There's the Miz and Kit Wilson, Mr. Toxic guy. And Miz has said, hey, this whole curse thing from Danhausen is a myth. It's bullshit. And Danhausen suddenly appears behind him. Of course, they're making it so obvious now. Isn't it a little annoying that somebody in the Danhausen skit has to turn away from Danhausen and there has to be an unnatural zoom in of a close-up on that person for no reason so they can zoom out and he's gone? They're a multi-billion-dollar publicly traded company. There are effects. There's a little kid. I'm not talking about CGI, but goddamn, there's a few other camera moves that you could do to kind of fucking. Anyway, Danhausen shows up behind him with a jar of teeth. And he'll come to the ring with them and help them out and everything. They're going to win the tag team titles. And Kit Wilson said, "You are toxic." But then Danhausen says, "I'll undo the curse if you let me come to the ring with you." And Miz says, "Hey, you take your curse and shove it." And then Danhausen disappears again after another close-up on Miz. And again, they're not doing David Copperfield style magic in the round. If they could just, do you see what I'm saying, Brian? If he could bail in a different effect.
We've seen the same intro and the same disappearance now on both shows going back a month or so. And I get a kick out of Danhausen's stuff, but that has to be changed. Because like you said, it's every time now. Camera does a close-up of the guy, all of a sudden Danhausen's there. Camera does a second close-up, Danhausen ducks out of the picture and disappears.
And you're not doing the live magic in the round to where this needs to be like legitimate to everybody in the fucking picture and et cetera. You're doing pre-tapes in the back that can be all right. So then they have the tag team title match, and Jesus Christ, Brian, we skip a week or two of these people, and Damian Priest and R-Truth are the tag team champions. You remember this happening?
I did not watch this. I have not seen these recent developments in the tag team division.
Well, there they were. And again, a couple Fridays ago was rotten, and we skipped it. But you can almost tell in Priest's work, it seems like he's slowed down about a revolution. And they've given up on him. He's in a tag team with the comedy guy and he's working with another comedy guy. So Priest and Truth against Miz and Wilson, and they have this match, and I didn't care about the match, so that's not the point, but here is the finish. I got to be honest with you. I think Tony Khan would have been offended by this as being too fake if somebody pitched it to him. So Priest and Wilson are on the floor, and Priest clotheslines Wilson, and then they both just go down, and Priest stays down for no reason. He's the one that just did this, but they just lay on the floor because they got to be out of the picture for the next couple minutes. Meanwhile, there's thousands of people in the building watching them just lay there on the fucking floor. So Miz and Truth have a double knockout in the middle of the ring, and Danhausen's music plays. And he makes his entrance down the aisle and goes to the ring. And I mean, it's not like he's running. And he gets up on the ring apron to take the tag. And Miz and Truth, meanwhile, through his whole entrance, have been motionless in the ring, like Priest and Wilson are outside the ring. So then Miz looks up, and he's just gobsmacked of the gall of this guy, or he's thinking about it or whatever, but he looks at him for a while with Danhausen saying, tag me. And then he says, "Get out of here." And then Miz goes in the corner and argues with the referee forever, while Truth slowly turns over and looks and milks. Once he finally started milking it, the people got with it, but it took a second, more than a second. So finally, as he's milked the people, Truth, he tags Danhausen. And then Danhausen gets in the ring, and Miz turns around and sees him and tells him to get the fuck out of there. And Danhausen winds up to curse Miz, but Miz pulls the referee. My poor old friend Rudy Charles in the front of him. And Danhausen accidentally curses the referee. So then he has to apologize to the referee. "Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to do that." Like he's just It set him on fire is Danhausen's reaction. Oh my God, I didn't mean. And then Miz grabs the full Nelson on Danhausen, but the lights go out. And when the lights come back on, Miz is standing with empty arms in the ring, and Danhausen is at the entryway scurrying off.
He's running. You see him running away. I don't know if that was intentional or not. You're supposed to see him running?
They cut to the shot.
I guess so.
They cut to a shot of Danhausen in the entryway scurrying away.
You know, this is one of those things we killed the indies for, and early days of AEW, some of the stuff we saw. You know, the Invisible Man, that kind of stuff on the indies. I don't like this. Again, this episode, I like Trick Williams and Lil Yachty, and I didn't like a single other thing on this episode. And this seems like a major step backwards.
Imagine this, a 3-hour show, and the only thing good I've said is they ought to hire some rapper that I've never heard of before. But nevertheless, the match is still going on now, because now, if fucking Danhausen is scurried away and fucking Miz was, gobsmacked that here comes truth. And now, man, meanwhile, again, Priest and fucking Dipshit have been down forever. So Priest and Miz do a little thing, boom, 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 and Miz hits his finish on truth, and the referee goes to count 1, 2, and then screams in pain and grabs his right arm and can't count and is, oh my God, he's in agony because he's been cursed. And then in the middle of all of this, Truth tags Priest, and Priest hits his finish on Miz, and the referee counted with his left hand. But Miz was like, what are you doing? And he's, I can't. Oh, it hurts. I actually wrote, now I have to quit watching Smackdown. If I'm applying the same fucking logic, should we give them 1 week grace period to try to come out of this stupor?
Well, I think we got to give them at least until WrestleMania, just because we're a couple weeks away.
Because I actually am interested in a couple of things at WrestleMania. Unlike almost everything else that anybody ever does ever anymore. And they're feeding me this shit. Now, the segment's not over yet, but your thoughts on the cursed referee?
Do you think maybe Dan hasn't put a curse on the creative team? And that's what's causing all this? No, I don't like it. Again, it's been fun, some of the Danhausen stuff, and cutesy, and I don't mind him going out there throwing t-shirts to the crowd or getting a pop for a backstage segment, although, like we said before, they got to mix it up a little bit. But to me, this is a step too far. Once magic is introduced, that's right there with teleportation for me.
Yeah.
I don't like it at all. Referee did a good job. I mean, for whatever it's worth, the referee did a good job of selling that magic has stopped him from being able to count the pin because of magic pain. But
yes,
this isn't pro wrestling. This is Lucha Underground, or this is a mockery of wrestling when Danhausen's used like this.
Well, and then they went to replays, but the segment wasn't over because when they come back from the replays of this fiasco, as if we needed to be reminded of what we'd just seen, Cody comes out, hits the ring, and just gives poor old kid a crossroads in the middle of the ring. He like wipes his feet on this guy. And then takes the microphone and cuts another promo on Orton and McAfee. And there was again, this was so odd. Like, he called McAfee a stoner grifter Logan Paul without muscles human hat rack. I mean, there was some good shit, but the promo was supposed to be appealing again to inside smart fans or smart marks or whatever the phrase is, just stuff that neither one of these guys naturally has ever had historically said in promos. Cody said this after this reveal, McAfee, it's like if the third man after Hall and Nash was Disco Inferno instead of Hulk Hogan.
No reaction.
Well, yeah, because people are like, well, yeah. And then at the same time, this was an inside shoot promo because Cody made he specifically used the verbiage, "You and everybody who represents you can kiss my ass. Fire me? It worked out for you great the last time, didn't it?" But there looked like there was enough vehemence in it that I think that on some level, Cody is pissed and he was really enjoying saying that. Does that make any sense to you?
It does, I guess.
He was having a meltdown on a couple of different levels that I'm not sure everybody got. I'm not sure that the fans got
They didn't get any of this. I don't know who this is for exactly.
That's what I'm saying. I'm not sure that the fans got the point of the whole thing. Besides the insult to McAfee, but also I think maybe somebody in creative or whoever's representing who, I think he's not pleased with them either. He knows this is shite. It was very heartfelt, is what I'm saying.
If there was ever a week where you tried to convince me Vince Russo was writing for WWE again, this may have been the week.
There you go.
They have not done any favors for Cody. I'm not a fan of the work shoot promos because even the crowd you're trying to appeal to with that, they see through it. You know, you can't get away with that right now with this. No one's going to buy that this is anything other than what it is. And what it is right now is a bad build for a main event match at WrestleMania. If I was Cody Rhodes, I would be pissed off. I mean, he comes out there, he's like, Stephanie McMahon, who I respect so much, why are you saying that? Who is this promo for? You guys have lost the plot. They succeeded in getting everyone behind Cody, and now they've succeeded in running all of those fans off. It's astounding.
You are pounding on the desk there, pal.
I threw something and then I put my fist down, but now I did it again.
See, I'm accused of being all the, active over demonstrative over here, and it's got you fired up too. And then he had to defend the business that he had done. I've done the event. I was sold out, and I'm finally hearing the voices in my head, and you don't want to know what they say. But they're trying to have Cody defend the business that he's done as champion, which the fans are really going to give a shit about, except for the fucking people like us that comment on all these inside things. That ain't gonna fill the fucking stadium.
Yeah, the average fan watches SmackDown and Raw and then watches again the next week. These thoughts that the WWE put in their head this week are not thoughts that the average fan has. Like, the ratings for last week's show were the all-time worst, where things have been awful. Or I wish things can go back to the way they were 30 years ago, almost 30 years ago. These weren't thoughts that their base fan were having. Not the people that pay.
They've run those people off. People like me, they've run them off because those regular folks don't get paid to watch this stuff. So the people that felt that way are listening to us because they've run them off. But they don't need to tell their current audience the truth about everything that's wrong with their show, do they?
Remember when Will Ospreay did that promo? You want to talk about what sucks about AEW? What was it, the line? It was like, you want to talk about what makes AEW awful? You're what makes AEW awful. You're the reason it's awful. It doesn't help. They introduced a bunch of concepts to fans here in the Pat McAfee promo and now the Cody promo that don't help the company, don't help the build of the match, don't help Cody. It was around this time, Jim, I needed a nap.
I'll tell you exactly what I was ready to join you. And that's why that as soon as this was over, I just wandered right to the bedroom with a zombified look in my face. And I laid down on my Helix sleep mattress and boom, just instantly I was unconscious. And when I came to, hooked up to all those tubes and with all those monitors, and going beep, 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 I realized, well, son of a gun, that was a good night's sleep. You will sleep deeper than the Mariana Trench when you sleep on a Helix mattress. Folks, they're the most awarded mattress brand. They're tested and reviewed by experts. You saw it, Brian, just a a review you were doing the other day on the internet that guess who was voted the #1 mattress? Our friends at Helix.
That's right. Several different polls. I looked for the best mattress of 2026, and it was Helix.
It's everywhere, and that's because it is. It's the odds honest truth. And right now, not only is a good night's sleep important, Brian, it helps you rest and reinvigorate, but it's springtime, the spring cleaning. Do you know how many filthy, stinking, dust-ridden mattresses are thrown out in the spring? Because if you have a mattress for like 10 years, the amount of dust that is going to congregate in that mattress, and then the dust mites, the little microscopic things with the feelers and the pinchers. There's about 72 pounds of dust in the average 10-year-old mattress. And that's why it's so heavy when you lug it out of the house. But you got to do this. Get the filth out of your home, ladies and gentlemen. Filthy, filthy bedding leads to filthy, filthy people. And you don't want that. So get a brand new spring clean, brand new Helix mattress, get a good night's sleep. And since it's tax refund season, if the crooked government is still giving those out, then you could apply your tax refund. And well, there you go. Combined with the discount that we're about to tell you about, you're practically getting this thing for free. And it's got a 120-night sleep trial, limited lifetime warranty, happy with Helix guarantee, free shipping, seamless delivery. You do have to sew this up. That it comes with needles and thread because it is seamless delivery. So the pieces will be there. You just have to sew them into the right place. Are you going to disagree with me about that?
You won't have to sew anything. They sew their own things. The seams again, I don't know how much I have to explain here. People know what a mattress is and what the expectations for a mattress are upon delivery.
Well, yeah, this is going to exceed your expectations.
Helix are great mattresses. I'm going to yell for a second here, folks, because I love Helix. And we've got
your sound baffler is just breaking you all up.
Oh, damn it. Well, I love Helix with a nice, careful whisper, ladies and gentlemen. And of course, we have several.
Now that does sound better. It sounds sexier. Also, it sounds like you're talking to me while you're laying on a Helix mattress.
All right, now I want to get off the mattress. This is making me sick. But what I was going to say, ladies and gentlemen,
go away. Why,
you stop talking? Can we mute Jim's microphone, please, yes. Lenny?
No, ladies and gentlemen, what I want to say, while Brian gets off, go to helixsleep.com/JCE, and you're going to get 20% off site-wide. Just right, it's the spring savings event. They want people to sleep on clean surfaces, fresh mattresses, a good night's sleep. Don't have the crabs when you wake up. I think not only dust mites, but also crabs. Because you remember, while your wife was away, that time you had that hooker in from Des Moines. And she could have had crabs that just burrowed into the mattress.
Is Des Moines, Iowa, a hot spot for hookers?
Well, see, there's a mail order place. It's centered out of Des Moines. And you just, because they work on a discount out there in Iowa. It's not a lot of clientele. So you don't know about the crabs in your current mattress. So get a crab-free mattress with helixsleep.com/JCE. And that's 20% off site-wide when you use the code JCE. That's why we're giving it to you. Don't get crabs.
That's right. A great mattress. Again, loved the Castle Cornette and loved here at Last Manor. In fact, we're both about to get new mattresses. We need them, and we choose Helix, and you can as well. helixsleep.com/JCE.
Well, and then, of course, back to SmackDown to finish this thing up, Brian. For the U.S. title, Sami Zayn had promised Carmelo Hayes that he would indeed get his rematch. And they had a match, and they worked a deal where Carmelo did a dive and, hurt his knee or his leg or whatever the case. He was selling his knee there. And then that way, he could sell that through the whole thing. And then finally, they work another spot where, boom, he comes off the rope, do a deal. Sammy gets out of the way and he lands on his feet and he goes down and he's hurt his leg. He's backed up in the corner and the referee backs Sammy up and says, no, I'm checking on him. And then he goes to check on Carmelo. Why, what Carmella? am I thinking about? There used to be
a valet, Carmella. She was there, and a wrestler. I shouldn't say valet. She was a wrestler, and she got I think injuries forced her to retire. She's married to Corey Graves.
There was an old-time person in wrestling, back the way it used to be, and the way we liked it, named Carmella. Not like a wrestler, just a wrestling.
Oh, Joel Goodhart's the woman who did the show, Joel Goodhart?
Carmella, that's right, with Joel Goodhart.
Panfill?
Carmella Panfill. I hope she's doing okay now that we've invoked her name.
Usually hope she's not in a landfill.
Usually when I mention people these days, something bad has happened to them. Anyway, Carmelo is in the corner. The referee's checking him. He's got the bad leg. Sammy backs up in the corner and charges and hits the haluva kick in the corner on the unsuspecting injured man and covered him. But here's the problem. 1, 2, 3. Just like that. I understand they want Sammy to, again, it's not like he's just, disemboweled this guy with a rusty fishing knife, but it is unsportsmanlike while the referee was checking on the injured guy to give him your finish when he's not expecting it. That's the point they're trying to make. But they should have closed the loophole. The referee had told Sammy to back up so I can check him. When Sammy fucking hits him with the kick and goes down and covers him, the referee just counts. And of course, the fans booed because that was a heelish thing to do. But why did the referee not say, what the fuck are you doing? I told you to back up. I'm checking them out. Hey, count it, and make the referee get down and just a little thing, right? Anyway. Sammy won, and then Trick and his friend jumped back in, a little yachty, and started insulting Sammy, and then jumped him from behind, and my DVR froze. Now, are they doing an overrun on SmackDown too, or was it just they were that tight?
They were that tight. I think it was right at the end, because that's where my DVR ended too, and I don't think they ran over with that.
Well, and basically, I think right before the finish, the referee was all over one or both of these guys not all over them in trying to tell them something. Like, I think he was saying, we're running out of time. So they were probably, but anyway, they beat up Sammy, but I'm sure they got cheered for that in the building, for beating up Sammy after he just fucked the other guy. Then they, so, I mean, at least with Sammy, they're wanting this, and with Trick, they're wanting this, but with all the other stuff, it's all odd. And that was SmackDown.
Again, the weird build to WrestleMania continues. The apparent upcoming heel turn of Sami Zayn, although they're already booing him. They're into Carmelo. They love Trick Williams. Referee was cursed. We'll see if his hand is okay in the future. Will the curse continue? The tag team division, obviously, on SmackDown now is a complete joke. What else? Randy Orton and Pat McAfee's heel turn. I know there's some fans that like it. I saw some people that thought I was being too critical, and they said, I loved what Pat said, or I agreed with what Pat said. That misses the point altogether. It's not even about what he said.
Yeah, we're supposed to say shit like the show sucks because we have no financial interest either way, but they're not really supposed to tell us that their show sucks on their own show when it sucks. Or just make it not suck. Don't call attention to that it does suck.
Yeah, don't send someone out there to do a speech about how bad things are at the same time you're raising the ticket prices. Because what does that say about your mentality? Let's raise the rates again. They're idiots. Go out there and tell them how stupid they are.
If they're trying to get the Attitude Era people back, right? Like, yeah, this is what we want to see, the Attitude. Well, then try bringing back Attitude Era ticket prices.
Yeah, let's see some titties.
There you go. Might as well.
Go all the way. Come on. If you're going to do it, do it. Attitude Era broke box office records. Set WWE up to become a publicly traded company. Made Vince McMahon a billionaire. Let's see what this does.
And it's been impossible to follow for 25 years.
Yeah.
And they finally, no, seriously, almost 25 years later, they finally hit another hot run and sell the fucking company to an even bigger goddamn conglomeration. And then they proceed to give us less than they ever have, practically, for more than they've ever charged. And
again, a lot of the problems go right to the creative team. Even if you think that Paul Levesque or his team are being overruled by anyone above them, it's not for every single thing on these shows. These shows are not really good right now. They're not building up anything right. And this one had less shit in the middle of it, but who cares about the Wyatts and the Solo Sikoa bunch fighting over a lantern? Nobody. So they need a real change creatively at the top, and I just don't know what that could be or who it would be or how it even would be possible. They just named another female head writer of Raw a few weeks ago we talked about, who had no experience in wrestling whatsoever. She just writes TV. She'll be able to write nice little funny segments where the guys pretend the cameras aren't there, because that's what we did in the Attitude Era. They had moved on. They had successfully moved on. They had the Bloodline. They had Cody Rhodes. They had wrestlers that weren't yet at the top that people were excited about, and they still are. But
things did seem more fresh when they changed Kevin Dunn out.
That's right, Leaf Fitting coming
and brought in Leaf Fitting and the new production that felt new and good, and they had that going, and the box office records and the etc. But I know they can't. The only thing that they have been unable to control that we talked about earlier in the program, it was all of their problems with WrestleMania and all their problems in general, is the injuries. Everything else has been somewhat self-inflicted.
That's a great example right there. Obviously, they didn't want nor expect Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed to go down, or Seth Rollins to go down. And all of these things in the last 6 months or so have changed the booking plans they had, clearly. So you can't say that everything's been easy and they could have easily just done things. They had to be creative and come up with something. Instead, they came up with a bunch of masked guys hitting the ring and scurrying around. Like, this is where their minds are going to. It's like, okay, we have these problems. It creates an opportunity to do something good or special. Instead, they're going to bad wrestling ideas. I can't explain the deficiencies in this creative team or why they think this is what it should be, but this team, the creative team, Ed Koskey, Bruce Pritchard, the other random generic people, throw Heyman in there, although Heyman's stuff still is better than everyone else's, but especially Paul Levesque. The creative team is creatively bankrupt right now. They don't know what to do. They don't know how to get out of their own way. And they rely on boring old tropes of the Vince McMahon era that are dead.
Well, and see, with so many people being involved, now with the Danhausen thing, coming out and taking the tag in the tag match or whatever, all the things that we talked about they did, there's a semblance of an old wrestling angle in that if you had a tag team, a heel team that had wiped out one of the members of the babyface team, and there was this poor babyface in the ring that was getting just beat to death because they were just tagging in and out on him, and he was all alone. His partner had got hurt, but he didn't want to give up. And then you send the other top babyface out to jump on the apron and reach for the tag, and the people are up, and the referee looks like, okay, I'll okay this, and blah, blah, blah. And he gets the hot tag, that type. And then you do an angle and it's coming back for a big match or whatever. But just, that was the only old wrestling part about it. Was there, Danhausen gets on the apron to try to take the tag. Everything around it was completely showbiz and goofball and implausible, and just done on an underneath level with underneath guys for comedy's sake. And this was one of the sillier WWE television programs in a while, probably the worst one I can think of that I've seen in a while. But it's almost like that, the fucking trampoline cowboy mentality somehow penetrated the WWE offices, and it's all done for comedy, and let's get anybody involved, and this is complete showbiz parody of wrestling, and mixed with we just want to do shit to shock people, whether it makes any sense or not. All of the worst parts of modern wrestling were what we got in this 3-hour extravaganza. That's just the point that I'm making.
Well, that was SmackDown.
Whose show is this?
It is yours, thankfully.
Is it over with?
It is yours.
Well, in that case, I believe we are done here, ladies and gentlemen, but there will be another fantastic program for you to listen to in just a few days, because Brian Last will host Jim Cornette's drive-through and have tons of questions and entertaining things and hilarity and fun and possibly some skits, dramatic readings, and poetry.
I guarantee it'll be better than Raw and SmackDown. And Dynamite, ladies and gentlemen. That's a low bar. Professional Wrestling's popular Jim Cornette's drive-through coming at you next week. And of course, in a week, here on The Experience.
Yes, in a week, they pay me weekly, very weekly. All righty, until then, folks, just try not to watch any of this stuff. Oh, and happy Easter, because it's already happened by the time you heard this, so hopefully everybody enjoyed the roast bunny. Thank you, fuck you, and bye-bye, everybody.